It's 1.42 runs of support, which is the lowest in the National League. Let me just clarify that. It's 2 starts in a row now, not necessarily at home, during which the Giants have failed to score runs for him. The center fielder, Aaron Rowan, plays the other way against Cora. Now Sanchez with a 1-2 pitch. And a fastball hit towards the middle. Base hit going into center field. Rowan moves over to get it as Cora takes a big turn. And Alex Cora delivers a 1-out single. So the Mets get their first base runner, and it'll bring up Carlos Beltran.
You know, with a guy like Cora, you expect him to be able to serve the purpose of playing for a couple of days for somebody who's injured, perhaps. But when you look at his last 10 games coming into the series, hitting .435. I mean, a team that needed a little injection of offense, he's done that.
And now here's Beltran hitting right-handed, batting at .370 on the year. He's second now in the National League in hitting. And the first pitch on the way is taken on the outside corner, a fastball. 1 ball and no strikes to Carlos, who went 1 for 4 in yesterday's game, including a big strikeout in the 12th inning with that tying run at third. Joey Votto of the Reds now leads the league in hitting, 4 points better than Beltran. Sanchez sets the 0-1, and it's taken down and in, a fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike to Carlos. Beltran has hit far better away from Citi Field than he has at home. And he's been pretty good all over, but he's got a .471 average over the Mets' 13 road games. Now Sanchez with a 1-1, and a fastball popped up behind home plate, a foul ball coming back into the seats, and it's 1-2. Sanchez throwing that fastball 92, 93 miles an hour. Lifetime against the Mets, he's 2-1. He faced Oliver Perez last year in that game where the Mets came out to the West Coast after a Sunday night game at Shea Stadium. Were bleary-eyed when they got here, but Perez flew ahead of the team. He was fresh, and he lost 10-2. 1-2 pitch to Beltran. Swung on in for strike 3. Sanchez picks up his second strikeout, and there are 2 men away. The ball has some sharp downward bite to it. Another left-hander in this series on Saturday. That's going to be Randy Johnson. And this is the time now when the Mets are going to find out exactly what they've got in Gary Sheffield, who homered yesterday. Here's the 0-1 pitch. And a fastball, broken bat fly ball down the right field line, slicing towards foul ground, and it does bounce in foul territory on 1 hop into the seats. And the count 0-2, and Sheffield needs a fresh piece of lumber.
You know, that point you were making about Sanchez, at 26, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's a guy who's been through the minor league ranks. He's been in the major leagues. He's had success. He's had failure. And he should be better off having some obstacles to overcome, mainly errors by his defense. But when you talk to the Giants, they say, well, he's a young 26. And I go, are you referring to the fact that he's very immature? And the guy acknowledged that. So they're still waiting for him to grow up a little bit.
And that's how you rationalize it, particularly with the lefties. Oliver Perez has been around longer.
Yep.
He's been around since 02 in the major leagues. Perez now 27. Throw to first, and back standing is Alex Cora. So Perez far more experienced than Jonathan Sanchez, who came up with the Giants 3 years ago. Last year, all the appearances that he had were as starters, primarily out of the bullpen the year before. And a throw to first, handled by the first baseman Ishikawa, who's been playing in front of Cora. So there's a timing mechanism there in getting back to the bag. Mets used to play their first baseman in front of the runners with some regularity when Bobby Valentine was the manager. Here's the 0-2. Cora runs, pitch taken inside. The throw by Molina, not in time. It's a stolen base for Alex Cora. And the Mets get a runner in scoring position with 2 men away for Cora, his second stolen base. And I mentioned the name Johnson there. It wasn't a coincidence because when Jimmy Leland managed the Pirates, he had a big first baseman who the Mets would later have. Mark Johnson, remember him?
Oh, yes.
Well, Jimmy Leland would use Johnson to line up that way, use his size as a bit of a distraction for those basemen.
Stop looking around a mountain.
Oh, yeah, that big it is. 1-2 to Sheffield. Carter bouncing off the second. Sanchez deals, and a ground ball wide of third, a foul ball. The Speed Report is brought to you by SpongeTech, the world-leading ultimate one-step car wash and wax system. Buy one at SpongeTech.com today. So Cora's second steal is the Mets' 30th of the year. They lead the National League in stolen bases.
Talking with Razor Shines, the third base coach, before the game, he said, we are going to run at will if we can in this 4-game series. It's not a great hitter's ballpark, but they'll have 2 day games here, and it's much different during the day.
Here's the 1-2 to Sheffield, and it's taken outside. A changeup, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
The ball carries better during the day. That is true in most ballparks. You know, we go down to Dodger Stadium. You watch batting practice at 5:30 in the evening, and by 8 o'clock, everything changes. It's almost like there's some kind of substance to the air that's so different than during the day.
Well, here, as Sheffield calls time of the plate, it seems to travel much better to left field than it does to right. And when you look at this ballpark for the first time, it's 309 down the right field line. And you think left-handed hitters are going to have a party here, but it really doesn't work out that way because of the angle of the wind. Here's the 2-2 to Sheffield, and it's line towards center. Base hit going into center field. Corner rounds third. He's coming home. On at first with a single and a run batted in is Gary Sheffield, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Sheffield looked like he just waited on a changeup long enough to fire that ball into center field. Went down to get it and put the Mets on top.
Something that he has not done at all with his ball club. He didn't pull off of the ball as much as he normally does and would miss with that swing. He did just flick his wrist and put that outside pitch into center field. Good thing to see as he takes the place of a cleanup hitter.
Cleanup hitter providing a run, and now here's David Wright, right-hand hitter. First pitch, fastball inside 1-0. Remember, Hyundai donates $100 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund, benefiting the Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital of Mayo Presbyterian. For every homer the Mets hit this year, total contribution so far, $2,400. 1-0 to Wright. Sanchez deals, and a fastball foul back over the screen, 1-1. David batting at .315, 3 homers, 18 runs batted in. Went 1 for 4 yesterday when he had his pants legs up near the knees, wearing stirrups, showing the Sandies. But he's gone away from that because players are superstitious, and they lost, and he didn't have a great day. The 1-1 fastball on the outside corner, called strike 2. And it went 1 for 4 yesterday when he had his pants legs up near the knees. Throw to first, backstanding is Sheffield.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, right.
But you cannot change their mindset. Even if you kid with them, they're looking at you like, okay, you done talking? Because that's how I believe. And that's it.
Mets once again wearing their black alternate road jerseys tonight, same as the black alternate home jersey. And a fastball high 2-2, because this year they've taken the block lettering New York, serif lettering off of the road version of the alternate black, and they only have 1 copy now with Mets in script across the chest. And the Giants in their traditional home cream-colored jerseys. Throw to first, Sheffield backstanding. A great look that the Giants got away from a little bit, like so many other teams did in the 70s and the 80s. But they wear the same looking uniform that they wore, well, when the Mets came into the National League in 1962, and the Giants won a pennant that year. 2-2 to Wright, changeup outside, ball 3.
Lost in 7 games to the Yankees. Final game, Ralph Terry and the Yankees 1-0.
That's after they beat the Dodgers in a best-of-3 playoff.
Yeah, just like 1951. Very interesting.
So now Sheffield will be off and running on 3-2 with 2 out. There he goes, and the pitch is ripped in the air to left center field. It falls in for a base hit. Sheffield on his way to third. He gets there standing. Wright takes a turn and holds on as he sends a fastball into center field for the Mets' 3rd hit of the inning. And with a run already in and New York leading 1-0, they have runners at the corners and 2 out for Fernando Tatis.
This may sound a little strange, but it's not meant that way. But when you come to this ballpark for the first time in a year, and you've been here last year, But you come here and the wind's blowing in batting practice. You realize how difficult it is to try to elevate a ball and try to hit home runs, and that's sometimes what gets hitters into slumps. You notice the swings of the Mets in this first inning? Line drive swing. They're actually adhering to the ballpark itself. And that's what you need to do here in this ballpark in San Francisco.
So here is Tatis batting at .358. Had a grand slam yesterday. First pitch, fastball swung on and missed, nothing in one. He had a huge rip. 13 games, just at .413, and he's going to get several more at first base. The Mets are not going to let this Carlos Delgado thing go any further than the weekend. But whereas they talked about making a decision by tomorrow, now they've kind of pushed that back towards Sunday about whether or not to DL him. Here's the 0-1 pitch. And a changeup outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
I think what they're really worried about and concerned, because there hasn't been any improvement for Delgado. That's probably the most frustrating element for Jerry Manuel.
Well, what's been revealed now is that there's kind of a frame. You get into semantic verbiage, but it's a slight tear of the labrum in there. They've been calling it an impingement. Here's the 1-1. Wright runs. Pitch taken down and in for a ball. Wright gets to second without a throw. So he has a stolen base. The Mets second of the inning. And so runners are at second and third with 2 out.
If they have base runners in this series, they are going to have a track meet. That's no knock on Benji Molina, but they don't think that the Giants pitchers hold runners very well.
And Sanchez is a left-hander. Molina is one of the better defensive catchers in baseball. So they're running on the pitcher. 2-1 to Tatis, and hit in the air to right center field. Playable in the gap for Randy Wynn, the right fielder, who makes the catch to retire the side. So the Mets settle for 1 run on 3 hits. No errors. They leave 2. Middle of the first at AT&T Park in San Francisco. It's the Mets 1 and the Giants coming up on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
New season, new stadium, new
on I-95 in Connecticut. So we go to the last of the first inning, and John Maine has a 1-0 lead as he gets set to face switch hitting Emmanuel Burris, who will bat left-handed against the Mets right-hander, who is 3-2 with a 4.54 earned run average. One of Maine's biggest issues so far this year has been control, and he gets a first pitch fastball over on the inside corner for a called strike, 0-1. Burris just 1 out of his last 13 as he's been hitting leadoff for the last few games. The 0-1 on the way, and a fastball outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. They dropped Fred Lewis down to the batting order, and Lewis missed the last couple of games anyway with turf toe, although he's back in there tonight. And so Emmanuel Burris, who has a lot of speed, leading off. And the 1-1, a fastball hit on the ground slowly up the middle, cut off by Wright behind the mound, throws to first, safe at first base. Well, David Wright ranged far to his left as Alex Cora was charging in from short, and frankly, Wright was the only chance the Mets probably had as slowly as that ball was hit. And the throw to first just a shade late. As we were telling you that Burris can fly, he beat Wright's throw, and the Giants have the leadoff man on, an infield single for Burris. Now that brings up the well-traveled shortstop Edgar Renteria. You know, for the most part, this guy's been a pretty good player over the course of his career, and yet he ends up with a different team almost every year. This is his 5th team in the last 6 seasons. As Maine steps off, of course, he came up with Florida, had the World Series winning hit against the Indians in Game 7 of the 1997 World Series, then went to St. Louis and played 6 years there. A throw to first, and back standing is Renteria. But you just start in 04, his last year with the Cardinals. Cardinals in 04, Red Sox the next year, Braves the year after that, and for 1 more, and last year with Detroit, and now here in San Francisco. And the pitch bunted foul off of home plate and his foot, and the count 0-1.
He's a pro. He's a very solid professional, and part of the reason that has happened to Renteria is because he became a high-priced shortstop, and he was always valuable in a trade. Who you got back was as significant as letting him go. But it isn't his attitude. Everybody who's ever played with him really likes playing alongside Edgar Renteria.
Signed a 2-year contract with an option for a 3rd, a club option. So right-hand batter. Maine deals, runner goes, pitch taken for a strike, throw to second, safe at second base. Bit of a high throw from Ramon Castro, taken by Alex Cora, but Burris with a head-first slide beat the throw, and right away the Giants have the tying run in scoring position with nobody out.
You're right in the description. High throw. Castro has not thrown as well as I think he's capable of throwing, and a lower throw, a little bit more accurate. They have an out at second base.
So now Renteria with an 0-2 count. Maine delivers, and a fastball low, 1-2. Sinker by John Maine. Edgar Renteria has won a couple of gold gloves at shortstop, and he has always hit well against the Mets. You know that he's 11th all-time in terms of career batting average against the Mets at .310. Now the 1-2 pitch. And it's lifted in the air down the right field line, slicing towards foul ground on the run. Church. He won't reach it. It bounces in front of and then over the small barrier down there and into the seats. It's 1-2.
I always remember Renteria with that close stance, but I don't necessarily remind myself, I guess, you know, at this angle, maybe it's a different angle in this particular press box, but his left foot is really close to home plate. I don't remember him crowding the plate as much as I am seeing him do it right now.
Well, he's been around. Turned 34 years of age this summer. It'll be in August. The outfield straight away. Mets lead 1-0. Nobody out, bottom of the first. The 1-2 pitch and a fastball missed outside. So the count even 2-2. Pablo Sandoval on deck. Mets have Tatis at first, Castillo at second, Cora at short, right at third. Sheffield, Beltran, Church left to right in the outfield with Castro catching. Now Maine ready. Looks at Burris at second. The 2-2 pitch. And Renteria breaks his bat, hits a little looper into shallow right field. Back goes Castillo to make the catch, and holding at second is Burris. And a good job by Maine to shatter Edgar Renteria's bat for the first out. And we'll pause here for station identification on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
CC Sabathia earns the win. Yankees beat the Blue Jays 3-2. Mark Malusis follows the Mets on WFAN and WXRK HD3 New York.
Howie Rose, Wayne Hagan with you in San Francisco. Mets have the 1-0 lead, somewhat in jeopardy here in the bottom of the first. Burris is at second with one out, and Pablo Sandoval, the rookie third baseman, a switch hitter batting left-handed, who's quickly become a fan favorite here, will hit. Maine's first pitch, fastball at the knees and down the middle for a called strike one.
He grew up wanting to be Omar Vizquel. Ironically, he joins the Giants after Omar Vizquel's no longer here, but he's ambidextrous. He can throw left-handed as good as he does right-handed, and he's a switch hitter.
And can catch, as he has recently. Here's the 0-1. Fastball hit hard, backhanded, and then juggled by Cora. Bounces behind him onto the grass, and everybody is safe as he picks the ball up. Burris goes to third. Sandoval safe at first. That ball was scorched. And Cora went down to a knee to try and backhand it. And I would imagine that's going to be a base hit all the way for Sandoval, and it is. So runners now at the corners with one out for the catcher, Benji Molina. Molina batting at .286. He's fourth in the league in RBIs with 28. He's also hit 8 home runs, but he's slow, and if Maine can get him to hit it on the ground, the Mets have a chance to get out of this inning. They'll look for two up the middle. The first pitch, fastball hit in the air to left center field. That's going to be in for a base hit. In to score is Burris. Stopping at second is Sandoval as the ball comes in from Beltran, and holding on at first with a well-struck RBI single is Benji Molina, and the Giants have tied it 1-1. And Molina now with 29 runs batted in. So the first 4 batters have produced 3 hits for the Giants. Now this is a team that's somewhat challenged offensively in the post-Barry Bonds era. They don't hit any home runs. They've only hit 18 overall, and this is their 34th game. That's the lowest home run total in the major leagues. They're 14th in the league in runs scored, but they're giving Maine difficulty here in the first inning.
Isn't that amazing? Benji Molina with 8. The rest of the team has 10.
In terms of home runs, yeah.
Yep, that's amazing.
Well, ball got loose down the right field line. That situation's been remedied, and so Randy Wynn, switch hitting right fielder, will step in against Maine. Wynn batting at .262 with 2 homers and 15 runs batted in. David Wright starts even with a bag at third against the switch hitter batting left. And Maine's first pitch, change up outside. The count 1-0 on Randy Wynn. He has been a solid hitter with men in scoring position, and he has one here, batting at .321 in those situations. Sandoval leading from second, not a big lead. Molina from first, the 1-0. And a slider in the dirt gets away from Castro, rolls to the backstop. The runners move up. To third, Sandoval. To second, Molina. And John Maine continues to have problems here in the first inning, as he just buried that breaking ball. Very little chance for Ramon Castro because he got a tough hop, a short hop. Tried to backhand it, and by doing it that way, had really no backup. And so runners now at second and third. It is a wild pitch charged to the account of Maine. The infield sets back, and the 2-0 pitch hit in the air. Left field should get a run home. Sheffield moving to his left, makes the catch. Tagging and scoring is Sandoval. Holding at second is Molina. Sacrifice fly for Randy Wynn, and the Giants have a 2-1 lead. So the wild pitch really hurts, and Randy Wynn takes advantage by bringing home his 16th run of the year. Well, the Mets got the lead in the top of the inning and give it right back. And with 2 away, Fred Lewis, left-hand hitting left fielder, will be the batter. Mentioned that he missed the last couple of games because of what they call turf toe.
Saw a lot of that when the AstroTurf fields were a part of the Major League Baseball landscape.
There's none in the National League. First pitch, fastball downstairs, 1-0. It's kind of a wear and tear thing more than anything. But kind of a glorified bruise, which can be just too painful to play through for a while. So Lewis sat out. And now the 1-0 pitch. And a fastball inside near his feet. That won't help turf toe. And the count 2-0. Lewis, nothing. Lewis has good speed. The outfield pretty much straight away against the left-hand batter, as Maine continues to struggle here in the first inning. 2-0 pitch, and it's in the dirt. Gets away from Castro. He can't find it. It goes to the backstop, and down to third goes Molina on the second wild pitch of the inning, thrown by John Maine. And once again, Ramon Castro unable to keep the ball in front of him. It was the same exact pitch as the first wild pitch, and the same thing happened. Castro tried to backhand it, couldn't get his body in front of it, and the ball went to the backstop. So 2 wild pitches. Here's the 3-0 pitch, and it's taken inside, ball 4.
You know what the problem is? When you throw a pitch like that and the catcher can't catch it, you do get the wild pitch, and he has 2 assessed to him. But the problem is, now you're going to have it in the back of your mind the next time you throw that slider, is the guy going to be able to catch it, and especially with a runner at third base.
And so Dan Warthen comes out to the mound to chat with his pitcher, John Maine. Ramon Castro out there, too. I'm sure that's all part of the conversation. And there is a very interested onlooker tonight as far as the Giants are concerned when Dan Warthen comes out of the Mets dugout, because Dan's father-in-law, Victor Harwitz, no relation to Mets Vice President Jay Harwitz, is the ball dude, as they call him here in San Francisco at the game tonight. He's 90 years old.
The ball dude.
Yep. Aaron Rowan, right-hand batter, takes a fastball at the knees for a called strike 1.
Dan is very, very proud of his father-in-law. His wife grew up here in the Bay Area. Now make their home in Portland, Oregon. But this is a big moment for the family.
Dan worked for the Levi Strauss Company forever before he retired back in 1985. The 0-1, sinker inside and low. 1 ball and 1 strike to Rowan. So Dan Warthen in uniform for the Giants tonight, or well, for the Mets, of course, and his father-in-law Victor Harwitz in uniform for the Giants at the age of 90. 1-1 to Rowan. 2-1 Giants in the first. The 1-1 pitch. Fastball hit in the air, foul down the right field line, out of play. So Maine ahead here, 1-2.
When the pitches are being made in the strike zone by Maine, I'll say this for the Giants. They've had some very good swings. Very good swings against Maine.
Well, Maine facing his 7th batter here in the first inning. He's already spent 22 pitches. And now the 1-2 on the way. Lewis runs. Pitch taken for a ball. Throw to second. Not in time. So the Giants with their stolen base. Acumen deliver their 2nd steal of the inning. And each team has stolen a couple of bases. The 3rd of the year for Fred Lewis.
I know there were 2 wild pitches, but Maine isn't watching the runners, and Ramon Castro might be having the worst half inning a catcher could possibly have.
Now it's 2-2. The pitch by Maine taken outside, a slider, and the count full. Well, Maine has not been able to command his secondary pitches at all, not only tonight, but at large stretches of his previous 6 starts. And that's why he's been pretty unhappy, despite the fact he's got some wins. Payoff pitch, fastball outside, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. 2nd straight walk given up by Maine. And now the number 8 hitter, first baseman Travis Ishikawa, will come to bat for the Giants. And this is a problem, because the Mets are 1 short in the bullpen tonight to begin with, because of the slight injury, as they're calling it now, to J.J. Putz, who has a little bone spur in the elbow, so he's going to rest for a couple of days. Everybody pitched out of the bullpen yesterday. Brian Stokes has been moved up in the mind of Jerry Manuel as the 7th inning guy. So here's Ishikawa, and he takes a fastball for a called strike on the outside edge, 0-1.
J.J. Putz saying he had the bone spur, talked to the Seattle Mariners doctor, who said you don't need surgery. And now it's inflamed.
Here's the 0-1. Ishikawa takes a slider inside. That time Castro slid over to his right and made the play, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. But John Maine just cannot throw his off-speed pitches, whether the changeup. I really haven't seen more than a changeup or 2 in this inning. Certainly not his slider for a strike.
They're waiting for the fastball, nothing but.
And the 1-1. It's a fastball outside, ball 2. Travis Ishikawa obviously is of Asian descent, but he was born in Washington State and is pretty much the regular first baseman these days for the Giants. Doesn't have a home run. Now the 2-1 pitch, and a fastball punch foul off the fists into the seats behind 3rd base. So Maine once again a pitch away from getting the inning over with a count 2-2.
Ishikawa was working with somebody in uniform today at first base during batting practice, none other than Will Clark, who was returned to the Giants after a short time with the Arizona Diamondbacks organization working for Jeffrey Moran.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Ishikawa swings and misses strike 3. Fastball that was probably out of the zone. Maine with his first strikeout gets out of the inning, having allowed 2 runs on 3 hits. Leave the bases loaded. At the end of 1, Giants 2, Mets 1 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
At Citi Field are on sale now. Get to the phone at 718-507-TIXX or go to Mets.com now for your tickets. Giants with a 2-1 lead as we start the 2nd inning. Ramon Castro leads off for the Mets. It's the bottom 3rd of their order against Jonathan Sanchez. And the lefty's first pitch, a fastball outside for ball 1. Castro had a rough time behind the plate in the first inning, hitting a .275, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. And the 1-0 fastball right down the middle for a called strike, 1-1. It'll be Castro, Ryan Church, and John Maine for the Mets. Castro, the 15th batter of the game, and the 1-1, a slider hit in the air to left field. Starting back as Lewis now comes in and reaches up to make the catch for the first out. Geico wants you to know that a 15-minute phone call can save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. One away, and here comes Ryan Church. And progress is sometimes taken in very small measures, but Ryan Church made some yesterday. He did have a base hit and should have had an extra base hit if not for a tremendous play in center field. First pitch to Ryan, hit on the ground to first, backing up Ishikawa. He's got it. He runs to the bag and beats Church by a step. That took too long to develop, I'm sure, for the liking of Bruce Bochy, the Giants manager, because that became a foot race, and Ishikawa had to step on the gas right at the end. About 2 men away. John Maine coming up, but well, it's some catch that Jordan Schaefer made yesterday to Rob Church.
You know, the amazing part of the catch for me was not only the distance he covered, but at the end he realized, being a left-handed thrower, he had to reach for that ball right in front of the wall.
John Maine takes a breaking ball for a called strike one.
I mean, he ran back to where he thought it was going to be, and then it kind of tailed on him a little bit.
There's the 0-1 to Maine, right-hand hitter, and a fastball low outside, ball one. Maine 0 for 11 this year, an 086 career hitter. It's 2-1 Giants, 2 out, nobody on, top of the second. 1-1 pitch, and a fastball at the knees for a called strike two. Both teams could have done more with their first innings. The Mets left 2, the Giants left them loaded. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Fastball swung on and missed, strike 3, and that retires the sides. Third strikeout for Sanchez. Mets go in order, middle of the second. It's 2-1 Giants on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
You search for a new apartment for weeks.
A real estate agent only showing you the listings they want you to see. Visit RE/MAX.com now and see all the listings in New York State. Nobody in the world sells more real estate than RE/MAX. 2-1 Giants. John Maine faced 8 batters in the first inning, but was able to minimize the damage somewhat. So he'll face the pitcher, Jonathan Sanchez, and then the top of the order with Emmanuel Burris and Edgar Renteria. Maine spent 30 pitches trying to figure things out in that first inning. I'll also see what else has happened and is going on. The out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by 877 Cars for Kids. That's Cars with a K. Donate your car today at carsforkids.com. Earlier this afternoon, Milwaukee beat Florida 5-3. Bill Hall, Prince Fielder, Ross Glode all homered. First pitch to Sanchez, a fastball high 1-0, and this one from Glode stuck. And as opposed to last night's when he thought he'd hit a home run and video replay overruled it. 1-0, fastball outside, 2-0 to the opposing pitcher. Sanchez 0 for 7 this year and an 087 career hitter. And Maine right back to work, delivers, and a fastball outside, ball 3. Now, Maine likes to work quickly under most circumstances, but he's gone real quickly with his first 3 pitches here, and they've all missed. Now the 3-0, and that fastball's right down the middle for a called strike one. And Maine from the first base side of the rubber deals, and a fastball down the middle again, just getting it over. Run the count full now against Jonathan Sanchez. Beltran, the center fielder, several steps the other way against him. And the payoff pitch is inside and low, ball 4. He threw 2 fastballs right down the middle to come back from 3-0. Then he tried to come inside on 3-2 with a fastball, unless he was trying to throw it right down the middle and just missed. But Maine now has walked the pitcher to lead off the inning.
Well, in the first inning, not only those 30 pitches, 2 walks, 2 stolen bases, 2 wild pitches, and it equaled only 2 runs. He's fortunate.
Well, now he's got to go back to working from the stretch. He's facing Emmanuel Burris, who reached on an infield hit. And the first pitch to the left-hand hitter, hit on the ground, a short charge by Cora. Throws low to second, and it gets beyond Castillo. Rolls onto the grass to the right of second base. Holding at second is Sanchez. And on at first is Burris, and the Giants have first and second. Nobody out.
Cora having problems as shortstop. He threw behind the second baseman, Luis Castillo, and also threw very low as Castillo tried to barehand the ball at second. But the thing was, he was trying to rush things, trying to get the double play instead of getting a sure out at second and allow Castillo to try to get the second out.
So, an error on Alex Cora. And runners are at first and second. Nobody out for Edgar Renteria, right-hand hitter. First pitch, and it's taken high, a fastball as he showed bunt. 1 ball, no strikes. Will Renteria look to push these runners up? Remember, this is a light-hitting Giants team. They already lead 2-1.
I wouldn't give up an out against John Maine right now to save my life, because he hasn't proven he could throw strikes.
Here's the 1-0. And a full swing and a fly ball to left field, fairly deep towards the line comes Sheffield. He makes the catch, and the runners hold. Sanchez, the runner at second, had gone about 15 feet, if that, down the line. and really didn't tag up. That ball died as it was moving out towards left field. The wind pushed it back in towards the line, so Sanchez felt no need to tag there, and Sheffield was able to get the ball back in.
But you made a great point that I think the Giants are definitely going to take advantage of if given that opportunity again. Anything hit of some depth to the left field, they will run on Sheffield. He catches everything flat-footed, everything.
Now we're at the twilight stage. Here's Sandoval, and he takes changeup on the outside corner for a called strike, 0-1. Sandoval reached on an infield single his first time up. Glanced off the glove of Cora. Now the 0-1. Swung on and missed a fastball that was riding high, and those are the pitches where Maine gets most of his swings and misses, with that late movement up in the strike zone and often out of the strike zone. So it's 0-2 to Sandoval, with Sanchez at second and Burris at first, and Burris has great speed. One man away. The 0-2 pitch, and a fastball popped up right side of the infield. They should put the infield fly rule on, but now the ball travels a little further, and Ryan Church comes in to play it only about 30 feet from the edge of the grass to make the catch, and the runners do hold. They did not put the infield fly rule on because that ball actually did push a little farther out into right field, and it looked like it might off the bat. But Maine picks up a big out, but he's not out of the inning yet because now it's Benji Molina coming up.
I'm not completely sold that Castillo's seeing that ball in the twilight on a pop-up either. It's really a factor here tonight.
Right now, Molina comes up, having singled in a run his first time up. Dodgers beat the Phillies in 10 innings, 5-3 this afternoon. Here's the first pitch to Molina, way outside with a slider, and again Castro's got to move far to the right to come up with it. And the count 1-0.
If you're a hitter, why would you even suspect the slider's coming? If it is, let it go until he establishes that pitch.
And he has not to this point. Runners at first and second, 2 out. 2-1 Giants in the second. Main deal. And it's hit on the ground to short right at Cora. Gobbles it up. Sets and throws to first at plenty of time to get Molina. And that retires the side. No runs, no hits, 1 error. And 2 men left at the end of 2. It's the Giants 2, the Mets 1. The WFAN Mets were over the Padres 11-3. Houston over Colorado 5-3. The Cardinals beat the Pirates 5-1 after the Pirates had taken a couple in a row from them. We'll have more scores later on, but right now Luis Castillo leads off for the Mets. Wayne.
Thank you, Howie. Castillo struck out his first time, and the Mets are hoping that Jonathan Sanchez has a little bit of the obstacles that John Maine has faced in the first 2 innings. Here's the first pitch, and it's upstairs, ball 1. 1 ball and no strikes to Castillo. The switch hitter batting right-handed came into the game at a .318. Here's the next pitch, and a fastball sinks low. 2 balls and no strikes. Alex Cora to follow, and Carlos Beltran. Cora is not overmatched at shortstop, but tonight he's feeling it a little bit. Things aren't coming fluidly to him. They're just not smooth for him right now. The 2-0 pitch, and it's over for a strike at the knees. A fastball, 2-1. He has already committed an error, trying to force the issue on a double play, but it did not cost Maine and the Mets. Here's a swing and a drive hit down the right field line. Coming over near the line is Wynn, makes the catch on the move in fair territory. That's out number 1. He played that slice off the right-handed bat of Castillo very well. It's almost like the opposite when you see him batting left-handed, and the left fielder always seems to not only play shallow but kind of cover that line. Well, likewise when he's a right-handed batter. And a nice effort by Wynn in the outfield. And here's Alex Cora. Cora singled, stole second, and was able to score a run because of it on a single by Gary Sheffield up the middle. 2-1 Giants, and the first pitch backs him off of home plate. Ball 1, 1-0. Sheffield had an RBI single, but the Mets had runners at second and third when Fernando Tatis flied out into right center field to end the threat. Here's a pitch and a fastball guided in for a strike, and it's 1-1. Kind of an easy throwing motion by Sanchez. But to repeat, 1 quality start in his past 5. Here's the pitch. Fastball, a little below the knees, called a ball. 2-1. Dana DeMute, the veteran umpire, behind the plate. 2 runs on 3 hits for the Giants, 1 run on 3 hits for the Mets. Here's the pitch. And a chopper on 2 hops to the second baseman. 2 has left as Burris. A short toss to first takes care of Cora, and there are 2 outs. Well, all of a sudden, after the David Wright single, and he eventually would swipe second, putting runners at second and third, there have been 6 in a row retired by Sanchez. And he's done it a couple of different ways with fly balls as well as ground ball outs, and 1 of his 3 strikeouts. The pitch on the way to the right-handed Betty Beltran is over at the knees for a strike, 0-1 the count. Sanchez works fast, and a line drive hit hard but foul down the left field line. Tonight's game from San Francisco brought to you by Chrysler. At Chrysler, we're building a new car company. We're building great deals with up to $4,000 cash allowance on the Chrysler you'll want to drive. Visit your local dealer today and come see what we're building for you. Beltran struck out in his first at-bat, swings and fouls it back, and a great pitch to hit. A fastball out over the center of the plate, and he fouled it away 0-2. Happy birthday to our colleague, Rich Mancuso. Back in the Bronx tonight, enjoying his birthday. And take it in. Broadcast from San Francisco, where the Giants are leading 2-1. Here's the pitch. Fastball outside for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That wind continues to blow here. You never quite know. It usually comes from the west, which on your radio will be coming from the right to your left. A ball and 2 strikes. Beltran waiting. Here comes the Sanchez pitch. A breaking ball that's looped over the head of the first baseman, and it dunks down into shallow right field for a hit, and picked up eventually by Randy Wynn on several bounces. And Beltran has a hit with 2 outs here in the 3rd inning, and we'll keep an eye on him as Gary Sheffield is the batter. The Mets collect their 4th hit. We mentioned that Will Clark, now a member of the Giants. That's one thing that they have done so very well, and I think the Mets do an extremely good job as well, bringing back some of the players of past years. Willie McCovey, Willie Mays. We see Willie Mack up here a lot. Willie Mays spends a lot of time in the clubhouse, not necessarily during the game. Here's the pitch to Sheffield outside for a ball 1-0, but they like their influence on the young Giants, and in particular in spring training. But Willie McCovey will stay for the game, or at least most of it. Willie Mays will not. He'll retreat to his Atherton home just down on the peninsula. But they brought in Will Clark because he just finished his career not all that long ago. Here's a swing and a hard smash, fair ball over the third base bag and down the left field line. That means it goes into the area near the bullpen, and that is going to be a double for Gary Sheffield, and stopping at third is Carlos Beltran. So a fan reaches over the railing down near that bullpen, and Jerry Manuel's going to come out and argue with Dana DeMuth, and he has an argument here. It was a long distance to travel. You don't know how the left fielder is going to play the carom, how it will play at all. In fact, there's a reason why you would really argue it here at this ballpark. Just beyond where that ball ended up, as the fan reached over and had to tick off his left hand, there is a telephone box. And that ball was heading towards the telephone box, the one that the bullpen coach will answer the phone. And it was heading right that way, and you never know how that was going to play, if it was going to deaden right there or not. And it's up to the umpires and the discretion. But Jerry Manuel came out to argue, did not win, and now there's going to be a conversation with Benji Molina, the catcher, with Jonathan Sanchez with runners at second and third.
Yeah, that's the difference between fan interference and a ground rule double. When the ball bounces into the seats in fair territory, it's a ground rule double. But when a fan interferes, it's strictly up to the umpire to judge where the runners would have gone. And he figured there was no way of knowing for sure if the ball was going to hit any of those other impediments down there. So second and third with 2 outs.
So now it comes down to the old-fashioned way of scoring runs. A base hit here by David Wright. He singled his first time. Here's the pitch, and a ground ball in the hole at short. Backhanded by Renteria. Holds on to the baseball. In to score from third is Beltran. Sheffield goes to third, and the Mets have tied the game on an infield hit by David Wright, who's 2 for 2. And that's what the score is, 2-2 here in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, that's a smart play by Renteria, not risking a throw to first that could have gotten away or not been handled cleanly by Ishikawa. and allowed that second run to score, meaning Sheffield. The only other thing he could have done is look to catch Sheffield coming around third and try a quick snap throw there, but because Renteria was off balance and saw that Sheffield was being cautious, he knew he didn't have to do that, so he made a smart play.
Gary Sheffield now at third. David Wright swiped to bag his first venture over there at first base, so we'll keep an eye on him as Fernando Tatis is the hitter. The Mets trying to take the lead. They had it at 1-0. Now it's 2-2, and the fastball over for a strike at the knees, 0-1. Tatis was at the plate with those runners at second and third, and would fly out into right center field where it was caught by the right fielder for San Francisco. David Wright is short lead at first. Sheffield wanders off from the foul ground over there at third with his lead. A run in. And the 0-1 pitch. Fastball up and in. Now they throw it back to third and back in safely as Sheffield as that throw was taken in by Sandoval, but no tag applied. Molina trying to act like his younger brother.
It's an old family trick, isn't it? Molina's already done it twice tonight, throw in behind runners, once at first and now at third. And he'll do that probably 3 or 4 more times if the situation presents itself tonight.
Not nearly as successful as the younger brother, and that always stirs it in the heart of the older brother. Great competition. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's the leg kick and the pitch, and a swing and a foul back. And Tatis is swinging that bat hard. He's had some big rips against Sanchez, but nothing to show for it. Now with 2 strikes, he'll have to shorten it up a little bit. Well, the Mets have scored in 2 of the 3 innings so far. How about Gary Sheffield, the cleanup hitter? A single, a double. He has driven in a run, and David Wright is 2 out of 2 and has an RBI. And good production, and now they need it from Fernando Tatis, their number 6 hitter. Will Wright be going at first? Well, Sanchez thought he might, so lollipops a throw over to first base, and he's back in. Mets 2, Giants 2. We're at the top of the 3rd inning at A&T Ballpark. I still like Pac-Bell Ballpark better, but they changed companies. Here's the pitch with the runner going. Low and in, and it's a wild pitch to the backstop. Breaking from third is Sheffield. He will score without a throw, standing up as David Wright stole on the right pitch, and Sheffield was alert as that ball got away, and the Mets have a lead of 3-2. And both teams are playing a little giveaway early in this one. We'll see how they scored that. It did hit the dirt. They are going to call it a wild pitch, so we have seen in this game already a total of 5 stolen bases, 3 wild pitches, and we are in the top of the 3rd inning.
Ball went right between the legs of Molina.
I'm just surprised that they called that a wild pitch. Tatis, with Wright at second base, has a chance to give the Mets another run. And the pitch, going the ground ball to the short. His left is Renteria. He throws to first just in time as Tatis, with the naked eye, looked like he beat it out at first base, but Doug Eddings had a closer view than I do and called him out. We'll take a look at a replay as we go to the commercial break. The Mets get a run on 2 hits. And they get 3 hits because of the infield hit by Wright. They left a man. And as we go to the bottom of the 3rd in San Francisco, it's 3-2 in favor of the Mets and the WFAN Mets Radio Network. Road trip. I don't know if we're going to be able to survive if all 10 games are like this, Howie Rose.
I'd worry more about the catchers at this point than us. They're the ones getting the biggest workout.
Yeah, the pitcher keeps getting saddled with all of the wild pitches, but the reality is both catchers, if they had had the palms up and done their jobs, probably would have been able to block those pitches. Well, we have seen 3 wild pitches already. We've seen some scoring. 3 runs on 6 hits for the Mets, 2 runs on 3 hits for the Giants, and Randy Wynn will lead it off, and he takes low ball 1 from John Maine. Randy Wynn, a sacrifice fly his first time up, set up by none other than a wild pitch. Here's the 1-0. And a swing and a foul back into the seats. A lot of unoccupied seats. I personally have not been to AT&T Ballpark where I've seen a smaller crowd.
Attendance is down significantly this year, even though you look at the numbers and they're still averaging over 32,000. But the last couple of games at home, The last homestand was against Washington, produced a lot of empty seats.
1-1 pitch, and it seems to be 2-1.
I'm sure it'll be better the next few nights.
Saturday, he got 1-3.
Johnson down for number 299 against Johan Santana. Final chopper up to first base ride, kicks foul. Lincecum pitches tomorrow.
And Kane on Sunday, just to give you the Giants starters. As far as their ticket selling are concerned, the Mets will have Levon Hernandez against Lincecum tomorrow night. Told you about Saturday, and then Sunday Mike Pelfrey against Matt Cain.
I like the fact that Levon is pitching during the night here. Plays as a much bigger ballpark. The 2-2, swinging a ground ball to the second baseman. Castillo to his right, flips on to first, and that is out number 1 of the third inning. You know what I like about Castillo? A lot of second basemen, maybe because it's the short throw, but they gather in the baseball and hold it, set, and then throw to first base. And not to say that it's going to enable a runner to beat it out, but he just gets rid of the baseball so early that these runners are thrown out by a good 8 feet at first base. I just like the way he gets rid of the baseball. Here's Fred Lewis, a left-handed batter, and he swings and fouls it up and over the screen, back into the souvenir section of the third round. It's them in the box seats. Swinging a foul back, 0-2. You see,
We're not going to start any rumors now, are we?
no, I think I painted a picture.
I don't mean as far as Jerry's concerned, but with Donna, there's rumors. I didn't know she was in the park, and I'm glad I didn't know she was in the park.
I'll tell you who comes out here a lot is Carlos Santana. He loves the Giants, a big Giants fan. Great musician. The 0-2 foul. That'll play off to the left. Nothing into the count to Fred Lewis, who apparently did not take to the leadoff role like a lot of guys do. When he went to the leadoff spot, his average started to sink. Started the day at 292. He walked and stole a base. And an inside-out swing and a line drive to left coming on is Sheffield, moving to his right, makes the catch, and there are 2 outs. Well, that's a nice job of pitching by Maine as he gets the first 2 men. And now it's Aaron Rowan. Rowan walked in the first inning. And you know what was the cardinal sin of all of that? That he is 0 for 13 lifetime against John Maine, and you walk him. That just can't happen. Here's the pitch and a fastball over for a strike. Rowan not playing at all like he did with the Phillies. And it's interesting that he's even in the lineup tonight with the 0 for 13. Bounces it slowly out to the second baseman. Castillo waits for the waist-high hop, has it, throws to first, and that ends the third inning. 1-2-3, go the Giants. We head to the fourth with the score. It's the Mets 3 and the Giants 2 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 6.
Church and John Maine to follow. 3-2 in favor of the Mets. Jonathan Sanchez delivers a fastball high and wide. Ball 1. Castro line to left, his first time. There's a hooking line drive foul down the left field line. Fan brought a glove. King used it well. Not only did he reach for it, but he missed it, and it hit off the wall and went out in the left field. And the left fielder, Fred Lewis, will retrieve it and not even give that opportunity again to that same fan. He throws it well over his head and well into the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's about it. The Giants 6-3. Sanchez delivers a fastball outside. The out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Acela. Visit us online at Amtrak.com. A lot of games played earlier on this Thursday. We're playing late on the coast. Well, Florida and Philadelphia lost the pitch. A little bit low. It's 3-1. He threw him a fastball. Florida lost to Milwaukee 5-3. Prince Fielder hit a home run in the 8th inning. Pitch on the way, and it's low and inside, ball 4. So Castro walks to begin things here in the fourth, and we'll keep a close eye on Jonathan Sanchez because he is a lot like Oliver Perez, where things don't start off well, they usually don't end well. Ryan Church is the hitter. At least he does have the bottom part of the order to deal with here. Milwaukee won that game 5-3 over Florida. Dave Bush with the win over Bert Badenhop. And Trevor Hoffman with his 8th save already. Boy, they're not hearing any complaints about Trevor Hoffman since he came off the disabled list, doing his job with that wonderful changeup.
Pitch to Church. Fast turn on the inside corner for a curl. Strike one. Nothing in right. Philadelphia lost at home to the Dodgers 5-3. Dodgers will be going to Florida. And then they will go home, and we'll see them. Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Dodgers playing well on the road without Manny. The pitch, a breaking ball is outside, 1-2. James Loney with just his 2nd home run. Dodgers have such good starting pitching. Chad Billingsley was going for that win today. But the game was decided at extra innings, 5-3. Breaking ball is outside, and it's 2-2. 11-3, the Cubs over San Diego. Ryan Dempster, his 3rd win. Adrian Gonzalez hit another home run, though. He has 14 for the Padres. Here it's 3-2 Mets. The pitch to Church. Swinging a line drive, base hit to left field on one hop, played back in by Lewis. A bullet to left. And Howie, you could just start to sense that Church is going to get on one of those strings, and this is a perfect opportunity to do it on the road.
Yeah, it looks like he may be coming out of it, but that's a particularly good sign coming off of a left-hander, because Church had pretty much struggled against the lefties this year with just 4 for 18 until that at bat. Now John Main's talking to Razor Shines, and we could probably yell the signs out from up here. I mean, he doesn't really need to go down to the third base coach, right?
That's exactly right.
You're bunting. Hello.
And you're bunting well, we hope.
I mean, really. I mean, you're not going to... I don't think he's going to put a hit and run on here with Maine up. He hasn't had a hit yet this year. The entire ballpark knows there's a bunt coming.
And he needs to bunt it to third, which is probably what Razor Shines told him. Here's the pitch, and he bunts it up the third base side, but it goes foul. Just enough of a spin on it to make it go foul. Well, that's what Razor Shines told him. Ishikawa coming in from first base. He's a left-hander. He's very aggressive. And he would definitely try to make that throw on the lead runner, because that is Ramon Castro, who is not an easy guy to bunt over. So Maine trying to be a little perfect. He can still bunt hard down to third, but just force the third baseman to field it, and he will get the runners up. You don't have to be fined. You just have to bunt it on the ground and make the third baseman handle it. Here's the pitch, and he bunts it up the third base side. It's going to be picked up by Molina, taking forever, doesn't even throw, and everybody is safe. A perfect bunt, but Molina, I don't know what's happening to the catchers tonight. They're in a dizzy spell out there.
You know, the Mets are the team that travel cross country, and they've had their own issues so far, particularly Ramon Castro and John Maine. But as far as Benjamin Molina is concerned, I have no idea why he was not more aggressive in pursuit of that ball. He was the only one that was going to handle it, because I think that the third baseman, Sandoval, just had to cover too much ground to get there and still have a play on Maine. Molina, with a strong arm, just tippy-toed towards that ball. It was just, he looked lazy going after it, and I don't understand why.
John Maine will don a jacket, and you know that Dave Righetti, the pitching coach, knows the fragility in which Sanchez goes about his business. So they had a little conference there on the mound, because all of a sudden he has walked the leadoff man, given up a single, now a bunt single for Maine, and Luis Castillo is coming to the plate. He has struck out and flied to right. So the Mets leading 3-2, and they get busted wide open against a team that doesn't score a lot of runs. Castillo waiting. Here comes the pitch from Sanchez, and a fastball is high. Ball 1-0. I am looking at a mirror image of Oliver Perez right here with Jonathan Sanchez.
The only thing he doesn't do is take that hop and a skip over the baseline. Yet.
Justin Miller is going to start throwing in the bullpen. Here's a bouncy ball out to the shortstop. Renteria steps on the bag. He throws to first to get the double play on Castillo, but coming in to score from third is Ramon Castro, and Church will advance to third, but there are 2 outs. So they gave up a run, but they got a precious 2 outs right there with Alex Cora coming up. Obviously no RBI. That was not a very aggressive swing on the part of Castillo, right-handed. Rodriguez. LaTroy Hawkins' 5th save, by the way. 5-3 the final there. Yankees beat Toronto 3-2. CC Sabathia's won 2 straight. The pitch and a roller off the thumbs to the second baseman. Down to a knee is Burris. He throws at Cora, and the inning comes to an end. So Jonathan Sanchez did not let the inning blow up on him. 1 run. There were 2 hits and a man left. We go to the bottom of the 4th in San Francisco. It's the Mets 4 and the Giants 2 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Ishikawa steps outside of the batter's box.
Came in the game hitting .241. The pitch, swing and a foul. Why use a hotel when you can move into a luxury into the second deck? Nice catch made by a fan. A barehanded catch at that. Nice play. I don't know if that does much for the pride of Ishikawa that a guy caught it barehanded in the second deck here, and what he thought was probably a rifle shot off the bat on a foul ball. 0-2, and the pitch squirts away from Castro. 1-2. That always makes you feel good. Maine back off the back part of the mound, going to get a little moisture on that right hand. Now back up on top. He's got the long sleeves on. The 1-2 pitch is low, and it's 2-2. Fog starting to roll in. Started to see that in the late afternoon from the Golden Gate. Usually if it hangs out at the gate, you're in pretty good shape here. The pitch swung on and lifted high and foul down the left field line, backing out of play.
All right, so you grew up around here in San Jose. Now, what does that weather pattern mean for us the next few days?
We're supposed to be very warm, and just east of here, it's going to be in the 90s.
Oh, that is good news.
Yeah, it should be beautiful on Saturday and Sunday.
And at the ballpark, too, right?
At the ballpark as well. 2-2 pitch, and it's high for a ball. 3-2. The thing about San Francisco is that when it's consistently hot, like in the Central Valley where it'd be 100 degrees every day, that draws that fog right in from the coast and sits right over here. Here's a drive to right on a line, but Church is there retreating and makes the catch. And Ishikawa, a line drive out to right. 1 away.
I'll tell you, Wayne, it's amazing what they've done at this site, which is called the China Basin. I could not believe when they announced they were going to build a new ballpark for the Giants and get them out of Candlestick, that they were building it right next to the water. I thought, oh my goodness, they finally have an opportunity to rectify the old problem, and they're building it by the water again.
Sanchez, the pitcher, takes high, ball 1.
But what they did was brilliant. They designed it in such a way so that the wind is behind us.
1-0 pitch, and that's over for a strike. 1-1.
And they just built the stadium in such a way, or the ballpark as it is here too.
1-1 pitch, foul back, fastball.
You know, so that the wind is really, to a large extent, forced over the top of the third base stands and doesn't affect the fans or the players the way it did at Candlestick. It's brilliant that they were able to conceive it that way. It is far more comfortable in this ballpark than Candlestick, despite being right on the water.
1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, and Sanchez is out on strikes, and John Maine has 2 outs here in the 4th inning. And he has retired 2 men tonight by way of strikeouts. That looked to be a little bit of a changeup that he threw the opposing pitcher. And here comes Emmanuel Burris. They did a lot of studies here. The interesting part was nobody had really ever heard of the China Basin. It certainly wasn't a place where you flocked to. I mean, Pier 39 and all of the other places in the North Beach areas where you go here. The pitch over for a strike. Van Ness has its fair share of places to
find your interest, whether it be a tavern or a restaurant. A lot of places in San Francisco that give you that option. Maintain evasive. The 0-1 pitch lifted. Foul off to third and back again into the seats 0-2. But this was the only real estate that they could really afford to give to the San Francisco Giants to build this ballpark. And quite frankly, we look at it as quaint. And it really is. It's built on just about 13 acres right up to the waterfront. And that's the same size as Wrigley Field on the north side of Chicago in a neighborhood. Off-speed pitches high, 1-2. He threw him a changeup.
It's a unique setting. It's great.
It is a unique setting. Very unique. Mets leading 4-2. 2 outs, bottom of the 4th inning, nobody on base, and the pitch is swung on and fouled away.
Now, I say it's unique. It's somewhat similar to PNC Park in Pittsburgh, where you've got one of those rivers where they have the confluence. I forget which one it is. The Ohio River, maybe, out beyond right field.
I'll go with Ohio.
Go with it. It's either the Ohio, the Monongahela, or the Allegheny. But anyway, one of those rivers is out behind right field, just as it is here, too.
1-2 pitch from Maine, swinging a line drive, base hit in the left center field. Quickly over to get it is Beltran. Taking the turn and heading for second is Burris. The throw there gets away from Castillo, backed up by the Mets defenders on the right side of the infield as Beltran's throw could not be handled at second base, and Burris just keeps running. He gets into second base as Castillo took his eyes off the baseball with his back to the runner coming in on a head-first slide. And once you do that, you're going to try to sneak a peek as you also are reaching for that ball, and it got past him. Well, it's a double for Burris. Good hustle on his part, but he should have been thrown out at second base.
Well, this has not been a crisp game for either team. The Mets have had their issues with their battery in terms of pitches that maybe Castro should have blocked, an error by Cora, and now that play.
And it comes with 2 outs, and here's Renteria. He takes the pitch for a strike. I know you want to hear this. You want to hear me say it. Hi, hey, White Castle Cravers. Hey, you. This new splash is for you, is what it says here.
It's early enough to get us some.
Here's the pitch on the way. A swing and a miss. Coming to White Castle tonight to get your oink on with our new barbecue pulled pork steak here in the city by the bay. 4-2 Mets on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Week.
Fastball on the outside corner for strike 1. Not a particularly crisp or well-played game, but the Mets do have the 2-run lead. Beltran 1 out of 2, and lefty Sanchez deals a curveball that breaks low. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Haven't seen too many of those over-the-top curveballs from Jonathan Sanchez tonight. Sheffield and right to follow. The 1-1. Another breaking ball hits the outside corner. And the count 1-2 now on Beltran. Mets 4 runs, 8 hits, an error. The Giants 2 runs, 4 hits, and no errors. It starts to cool off here in the China Basin. 1-2, breaking ball down and in. And he's gone with 3 straight breaking balls now against Beltran, and the count's even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Talk about this being a unique park. In one way, it reminds you now of Citi Field. 2-2 fastball in there, strike 3 call. Beltran caught looking, and Sanchez has his 4th strikeout, 1 man away. To be more accurate, you could say that there is an element of Citi Field that would remind you of this ballpark, which these days is known as AT&T Park. And that is right field. You know, they said since this park opened in 2000, it probably was the toughest right field in baseball because of the angles and the quirks out there. Try and describe it for you. It's 309 feet down the line. And then there's a bit of an alcove, similar to what we have at Citi Field. Gary Sheffield takes a fastball for a strike 0-1. It's wider at the area where the right field wall sets back. And it reaches its greatest depth. Here's the 0-1. Fastball low 1-1. Beyond the alcove to where it shoots out to 421 feet to right center field. But again, the walls meet at peculiar angles, and you know, you've got that 1-1 pitch to Sheffield, slider inside and low. 2 balls and 1 strike. You've got those gates where they put the out-of-town National League scores, which can produce odd caroms. So it's a real adventure for a right fielder to play in this ballpark, as it is at Citi Field. 2-1 fastball outside, 3-1. And then there is some unique I don't know if you call it architecture out in the outfield. They've got this gigantic soda bottle to the left of an old-style baseball mitt. Here's the 3-1 pitch. And Sheffield hits it in the air to left field. Fairly deep. Looks like Sheffield got under it, though. And now so does Freddie Lewis, the left fielder, to make the catch for the second out. But alongside that soda bottle, as David Wright comes up, you got that old four-fingered style baseball glove. One night when I was working on the television side with Ralph Kiner, between innings, Ralph says to me, "Hey, when we come back from break, ask me why that glove only has 4 fingers." I said, "All right." So we show the glove here in San Francisco, 4 fingers. I say, "Ralph, what'd they do with the other finger?" He says, "They gave it to the Dodgers."
Perfect.
There's David Wright, and another high, hard one that he has to duck away from. Up and in, it's 1-0.
You know what David needs now?
Insurance.
He needs a little, that, dental insurance in particular, but he needs some protection. He needs somebody for the Giants to be moved off the plate.
Now, that's a good point. Here's the 1-0, and a fastball down and in. 2 balls and no strikes. That's something that Mets pitchers haven't done over the years as consistently, I don't think, as they should.
Well, this is what, 4 or 5 times in the last week this has happened.
Absolutely. Once with a breaking ball, but the rest were fastballs, right?
Exactly right.
4-2 New York, 2 out top of the 5th. Here's the 2-0 to Wright, and a fastball outside, ball 3. But isn't that great? I mean, Ralph set it up. He says, when we come back from the break, ask me what they did with the other finger. He couldn't wait to say it. 3-0 pitch, inside and low, ball 4. Another fastball. That one a sinker from Sanchez. And he has walked the second batter of the night. Comes with 2 out. Tatis coming up. And now we've got to look at whether David Wright tries to steal second base here.
You know, the beauty of that for Ralph is that he knew about the Giants-Dodger rivalry. He remembers that distinctly from the Brooklyn, New York days. I mean, it was a battle royal. And then to have that 1951 playoff, and Bobby Thompson hits that home run to crush the Dodgers' hopes. And it just built over the years.
And it's never dormant, no matter what the teams are doing in the standings. Here's Tatis, and a fastball fouled back over the screen into the second deck. No balls, 1 strike.
You know, Casey Blake hit a home run off Brian Wilson, who's the closer for the Giants, and he emulated Wilson in his usual post-game ritual that he does after every save, and hopefully he gets a lot of saves, he says, but he crosses his forearms as honoring his faith and his deceased father. And to have Blake do that, well, it just stirred up the blood again between the Giants and the Dodgers, not quite like Johnny Roseboro and Ron Marichal.
Time called. You know, it's interesting you bring that one up, too, because there's a great picture of that battle between the Dodgers and Giants in 1965 when Juan Marichal clubbed John Roseboro with a bat. This shows you another Giant with a bat held high over his head, about to do some damage. And we got near a danger. There's the run. Tatis hits it on the down back to the mound. Over against the first inside. Side retired. And yeah, you think about it. We'll keep you in suspense because the Mets go out in the 5th with no runs, no hits, a walk, and 1 left. In the middle of the 5th, it's the Mets 4, the Giants 2 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network. By Metro PCS, now bring in your old phone and get a $30 credit on a new Metro PCS phone. Metro PCS, unlimit yourself. Mets with a run at the top of the 1st inning. RBI single by Sheffield. Giants got 2 at the bottom of the 1st. John Maine threw a wild pitch in actually a couple of wild pitches in that inning where the Giants scored twice, but then the Mets with 2 in the 3rd and another one in the 4th. That run in the 4th coming on a bases loaded ground ball double play, it into by Castillo. And that's where we are. 4-2 New York as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. And Pablo Sandoval will lead off against John Maine. But just to wrap up that story, we were talking about the picture taken the day that Marichal and Roseboro had their confrontation here in San Francisco. First pitch to Sandoval. He shows bunt, takes changeup outside for ball 1. And there was a guy with his back cocked back like he was ready to do the same thing. A fellow who had come to the major leagues just 2 or 3 days earlier and played for a long time afterwards, Tito Fuentes. 1-0 to Sandoval, lifted in the air to center field. Settling under at Beltran, he reaches up to make the catch for the first out. Geico wants you to know that a 15-minute phone call can save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Well, I know you grew up on this side of the Dodger-Giant rivalry, but I loved Sandy Koufax. He's one of my idols. And after that incident, I hated Roseboro. I mean, I hated Marichal for a while and just despised Tito Fuentes. Because, I mean, how could this kid right out of the minor leagues be ready to do something like that? Benji Molina, the catcher, takes a fastball outside, 1-0.
And being a Giants fan, and in particular a Willie Mays fan, I was very appreciative of what Willie Mays did as a peacemaker in that, as did Sandy Koufax.
A 1-0 taken low, 2-0.
The class of those two individuals, realizing how utterly crazy and chaotic that moment was in August of 1965, should never have happened. But it was the heat of the battle, terrible decisions made, and embarrassing for the Giants, for Marichal and Fuentes.
2-0 fastball high, 3-0.
You couldn't, if you were a Giants fan, never side with what happened that day. It was dead wrong.
And Marichal, years later, made his peace with John Roseboro, which was nice. Roseboro has since passed away. The 3-0 pitch, a fastball down the middle, 3-1. So the Casey Blake, Brian Wilson incident that you talked about, just the latest in a long line of acrimony between those two franchises. 3-1 pitch ripped in the air towards the gap in left center. It's in for a base hit. Sheffield cuts it off. Molina, a very slow runner, just now gets to first base and takes a turn there, and the Giants get a one-out base runner. Now John Mayne has settled in since that 30-pitch, two-wild pitch, two-run first inning. That is only the second hit that he's allowed since then. And Randy Wynn will be the batter. He drove in a run in that first inning with a sacrifice fly and then grounded to second.
Howie, here's what I feel is wrong with baseball, though. That incident takes place with Blake and Brian Wilson. That's okay. They can settle that. But the Giants and the Dodgers, with this schedule, do not play again until August.
Isn't that odd?
Crazy.
And they're going to play 18 times anyway, but the way they, you know, separate them for months at a time, kind of, it's baffling. That happened one year recently with the Cubs and the Cardinals. Here's Wynn, and he takes a fastball high, 1-0, and Ramon Castro motions to John Mayne to settle down.
Yeah, they packed it all into the last 6 weeks of the season between the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Right here, the Mets leading 4-2. Mayne sets the 1-0, and Wynn swings and misses at a fastball, 1-1. Fernando Tatis, the first baseman, has been playing behind Benji Molina, who was so slow it's going to take him about 2 light changes to get through an intersection most days. So the Mets aren't concerned about him running here. Now Mayne kicks and deals, and a fastball fouled back to the screen. It's 1-2.
That's when he started in the median.
Hey, speaking of intersections, I wish they'd do this all over in New York. They don't, at least not yet. But here in San Francisco, as well as some other cities that we get to, Washington, D.C. is one. They give you a reading on the don't walks, how much time you've got to scamper across the street. We got to do that in New York. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, and a ground ball hit slowly to second. Castillo in a step, runs towards the runner, instead throws to first out there. Now they've got Molina in a rundown, and Cora puts the tag on him. It's a double play. 4-3-6. And they get the double play to retire the side. It was a tag play once the out was recorded at first, and Molina had nowhere to go. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, nobody left at the end of 5. Mets 4, Giants 2 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN New York.
Sports at 7 locations. Madge has been at all of them, sometimes at once, and they're now open in Stamford, Connecticut. Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here. 3,000 miles away here in San Francisco, 4-2 Mets as we go to the 6th inning. Wayne.
It certainly felt like 3,000 miles last night, didn't it? Oh, man. Ramon Castro leads it off. Walker scored his last time. Takes a breaking ball low and in, ball 1. 1 ball and no strike. Boy, that is a long trip from New York to
how these guys that go to the Orient or to Australia regularly do it.
Here's the 1-0, and the pitch is swung on and missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. I had a friend who actually traveled. He was in the oil business, and he would go to Germany, he would go to Australia, and he would fly nonstop from Denver. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and it's low and outside. 2 balls and a strike. and fall asleep, and they'd have to wake him up in Australia. And he had just traveled the 14 hours it took.
I take 2 Ambien, you'll be waking me up at the All-Star break. Kidding? 2?
2-1 pitch, yes. Pitch fouled back 2-2.
My wife took an Ambien a couple of years ago when we went to Hawaii. Talk about a long trip, the only time I'd ever made that excursion. And she was loopy for a week.
Barbara, he said that, not
Well, but it was the Ambien, and she'll admit it.
the 2-2 pitch. And it's a called strike 3, and Castro strikes out here in the 6th inning.
I don't know about you. I can't take that stuff. I look at guys on these planes like we had last night. Nice 6.5 hour flight. Half the flight is sacked out, snoring, enjoying a peaceful sleep.
Those were the pilots.
And I get, yeah, great. And if I get 10 minutes, it's a lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Did you see my seat? Here's the pitch to Ryan Church, and it's a called strike in the outside corner.
No, I did. What'd you have a party in there?
Well, we had a special plane, and the exit door was just in front of me. Here's the 0-1 pitch. And a swing and a foul. And the count 0-2 to Ryan Church. Well, you had to sit because the door is kind of cushiony, and it comes up. So I sat in an angle for 6 hours. Now, what idiot would sit at an angle for 6 hours and not go find another seat? But I was so engrossed with the conversation with Keith Hernandez, I couldn't leave. The pitch outside, and it's 1-2. Keith was killing me. We were talking about playing first base, what he did with his father and all. And the next thing I know, my back, I can't even straighten up. That was a...
Oh, you mean he was just telling those boring baseball stories?
No, they weren't boring. They were very interesting. Very interesting.
He's got great stories, that guy.
1-2 pitch inside, a breaking ball 2-2. I love the way he was telling. I said, well, who instructed you, speaking about the minor leagues, on how to play first base? My dad. And he meant it. His dad played first base. His brother was a first baseman. And, of course, I asked him the question about his brother, who set some records at Cal. The pitch lifted fouling out of play, and the count 2-2. It's his older brother.
Have you met him? I'm sure we'll see him out
I
there
have not met him.
Gary.
But Gary did some unbelievable things at Cal. And I said, well, how did he compare with you? He wasn't as good as me. I was the younger brother. I was more agile. But his brother, I guess, was some baseball player. 2-2 pitch. Look out. A breaking ball that got away from Sanchez and nearly struck Church. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Batting with 1 out here in the 6th inning. The Mets are leading 4-2. They scored a run in the 1st inning. Giants with 2 in the bottom of the 1st. And the Mets with 2 in the 3rd and another in the 4th inning. Sanchez with a 3-2 pitch to Church and a bouncy ball to first. That came off the lip of the grass. And for the first baseman, Ishikawa, he steps in the bag for the out. That really came up nicely for him. So with 2 outs, John Main will be the hitter. We'll head to Greenwich on Thursday, May 28th. That is 2 weeks from now. For the Mets Foundation Teammates in the Community Fundraiser, that's presented by Gatorade. You can meet and mingle with the Mets players. You can ask Keith all kinds of questions about his brother. The pitch is fouled back. You can tell him that Howie Ryan said you could do that. To find out how you can be a part of the exclusive evening to benefit the Mets Foundation, go to metsfoundation.org or call 718-803. Ball and 2 strikes.
You know, there are very few difference makers who come along in the history of the franchise and instantly change the culture. And Keith did that in 1983.
1-2 pitch. A swing and a foul off Molina. Down he goes to his right. He's hurt. In a hurry. He's still not quite up. He's gone to his knees. And he got struck on the right knee. Even the fact that he has the shin guards, it didn't take the full impact away, and that hurt his knee badly. And his trainer went out to check on him, and Bruce Bochy, who caught in his day with San Diego, also out there. Wow.
Bruce Bochy was a Met for about 5 minutes. And until Bruce Bochy came along, Jay Horowitz had the distinction of probably having the biggest pop size in the history of the Mets. And I think Bochy's not bigger.
What is his outside? 8? 11?
Well, I don't know.
It's huge.
kind of an interesting run here in San Francisco. He hasn't had as much talent as he had at times in San Diego. Take a look at that replay, and an awful foul ball off his right knee, but now to his feet is Benji Molina, but he's still smarting out there. Let's pause for station identification on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
The Lakers trail the Rockets in the fourth quarter, 76-69. Orlando beat Boston to force Game 7. The Hurricanes and Red Wings win. More later on WFAN and WXRK HD3, New York.
Wayne Hagan, Howie Rose, Chris Majkowski is our producer-engineer. We're in San Francisco waiting for Benji Molina to finally have that pain subside enough for him to continue on. Boy, that's tough when you have to crouch and continue on. We've got 3 more games in this series, but things aren't going well for Molina right now at all. He can't get into a crouch. He may have to leave this game the way he's acting.
Steve Holm is the backup catcher for the Giants, and the guy who's at third base, Pedro Sandoval, could also catch. Sandoval had been something of a personal catcher for Barry Zito until yesterday when Zito started against Washington. Sandoval had rolled an ankle tripping around second base a couple of nights ago. He stayed in that game and hit a game-winning home run. But the ankle came up too sore to catch, so they gave him yesterday off, and Holm caught Barry Zito.
You know what Molina just did? Told the pitcher, I don't throw me any like tosses here and see if I'm all right. Let's just go to work on John Maine. And the 1-2 pitch is a little bit low, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. They threw him a fastball, and to this point still can't put him away. Just a little low, says Dana DeMuth. I don't think Maine would have argued if he had been called out on that one, as long as he got it as a pitcher. So Sanchez back with another one. And the pitch swung on, line drive, base hit, right center field. Over to get it is the right fielder in backhanded fashion. Randy Wynn fires it back into the infield. And John Maine has his second hit. So the wait was worth it for John Maine. A single and now a single to the outfield. They'll rush that jacket out to him. The Mets have 9 hits in this game, leading 4-2, and Luis Castillo, who is 0 for 3 as a leadoff hitter, including a double play that killed a rally in the 4th, will step up. You know what, going back to the play that was completed in the bottom of the 5th inning, the 4-3-6 double play. Kids are up too late in New York to see that tonight. But what a fundamentally sound play that was by Castillo. Takes the pitch for a strike of the inside corner. When you have a runner at first base, doesn't matter if he's fast or slow, and in this case he was slow, and that was Molina. But once that runner stops, what he wants you to do is come after it and tag him, or try to. Chopper foul, third base side, and it's 0-2. Razor Shines picks that one off and gives it to a fan. But what Castillo did is he fielded the ground ball and tried to cut off the path between the runner going to second and first base, and kind of moved him back towards the bag. Knew that once he did that, he could stop that runner from his forward momentum, threw to first, and then they got the tag play. Brilliant job. Very well done. Breaking ball is low and inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Castillo. The Mets had a double play possibility earlier in the game in the 2nd. And that was botched on a poor throw by Alex Cora to second base, where Castillo couldn't handle it, but it didn't hurt. The Giants did not score. Fastball up and away, and it's 2-2 to Castillo. This has just been a weird game in many ways. 113 pitches thrown by Sanchez already. 113. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what it says. Doesn't seem like it. The pitch is in the dirt. That's a lot of pitches. And we're in the the top of the 6th inning. It just doesn't seem possible he's thrown that many. And they continue to have the bullpen activity with Justin Miller, the right-hander. He's already thrown so much out there in the bullpen. And he's kind of slowed down his pace. Sanchez, excruciating high number of pitches. The delivery. High and away, ball 4. That may be it for him tonight.
He's got to be out of gas.
Yeah, Bruce Bochy's coming out. We're going to have a pitching change right here. So the Mets are leading 4-2. Pitching change is called to the bullpen. Justin Miller, the right-hander, comes in with runners at first and second for the Mets, leading 4-2 over San Francisco, top of the 6th. And the fastball over for a strike from this right-hander. Justin Miller, 1-0, 2.20 ERA. And left-handers don't do much against him, ironically. 136 average, and that's what Cora is. This is his 14th appearance of the year. The 0-1 pitch, and a changeup is low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Milwaukee knocked off Florida 5-3. Dodgers win at Philadelphia by that identical score of 5-3. Chicago over San Diego 11-3 at Wrigley. Houston won on the road at Colorado 5-3. The pitch to Cora is over the plate, but low, 2-1. St. Louis won on the road at Pittsburgh, 5-1 the final score. Yankees win a 1-run decision at Toronto, 3-2 the final there. CC Sabathia with his 3rd win. 2-1 offering. Low, ball 3, 3-1. Minnesota 6-5 over Detroit. Texas a winner at home 3-2 over Seattle. Hank Blaylock hit another home run, his 10th. The Angels win a squeaker over Boston 5-4. Jeff Mathis single in the winning run in the bottom of the 12th inning of that game. Cleveland a winner 11-7 over Tampa Bay. The pitch off speed is low, and the walk is the 2nd in a row issued by the Giants pitching staff here in the inning. And the Mets very quickly have loaded the bases after 2 outs and a very long at bat for John Maine. And he got a base hit into right center field, and then a walk issued to Castillo, and another walk issued to Cora, and Carlos Beltran can widen the gap considerably. Beltran a single and 3 at bats. Swings it. It's a high pop-up foul off of first. That's going to be beyond the dugout and out of play. Baltimore won over Kansas City. That final was 9-5, so you're caught up on the out-of-town scoreboard. And Beltran up here with the bases loaded for the Mets in the 6th inning. By the way, that hit by John Maine, his 2nd of the game, his 1st career multi-hit game. And trying to win it now, as he is the lead runner at 3rd. The 0-1 pitch. A let-up is high, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike to Beltran. He has struck out twice, but had a single and scored a run in the 3rd inning. Can't let these opportunities slip by. The Mets have stranded 5 through 5. The pitch. Big chopper to the second baseman, Burris. He has it. He throws to first. Beltran grounds out with the bases loaded. And the Mets cannot take advantage of the 2 walks. No runs, 1 hit, 3 left on. They've stranded 8. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. 4-2 Mets at the WFAN. Last of the 6th inning. The Mets just had an opportunity to seize this game and let it go by the boards. Carlos Beltran with the bases loaded and a chopper to the second baseman. And the Mets trying to stick a fork in the Giants early in this one, a team that struggles mightily, but they just couldn't quite do it. And now it's the bottom of the 6th inning, and Fred Lewis set to lead it off against John Maine. Runs. He had 9 so 4 earned runs, total of 9 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 1 wild pitch. John Maine out to work on Lewis, who was walked the line down in the first pitch, low and away, ball right. And the run is out on back. Giants scored their 2 runs in the 1st inning. The 1-0. Fastball strike, and the count evens at 1 ball, 1 strike. In the 1st inning, there was an infield hit by Burris, then he swiped second. An infield hit by Sandoval. A single in the center for an RBI for Molina. A swing and a miss. 1-2. And then came the wild pitch that moved the runners up. And Randy Wynn lifted a sacrifice fly that would score Sandoval. And it was 2-1 Giants. But the Mets able to come up with 2 runs in the 3rd to take the lead. Bouncy ball out to the shortstop. Up with it is Cora. He throws to first to get the out of Lewis. 1 away. Aaron Rowan coming up has walked, and he has grounded out 0 for 14 lifetime against John Maine. But he is playing in the game tonight in large part because of a little accident in the outfield. Nate Sherholtz, an outfielder, might have started, but he got hurt in a collision in the game yesterday. So says Bruce Bochy. And the pitch inside ball one, which gave you the hint that Rowan may not have started tonight. 1-0. Maine back to the plate. Fastball hit in the air down the right field line. Pretty deep, but slicing, and it will go foul. Well on the play. 1 ball, 1 strike to Rowan. Ishikawa due up next, the number 8 hitter for the Giants. Mets are in control of this game, but they could have dominated, leading 4-2. Here's the pitch on the way, and a ground ball up the middle, base hit into center field. A 1-out single by Rowan. And the Giants have collected another hit against John Maine. They have not hit anything with authority. They have had a double by Burris. They've had a couple of infield hits, a couple of singles in the center. He has walked 3. The Giants have had a couple of wild pitches to help their cause. Plus, they've had a couple of steals. But that all came early. So with 1 out, runner at first, Ishikawa the batter. He has struck out and lined out, and he goes first ball swinging and fouls back the fastball. Strike 1, 0-1. Mets 4 runs on 9 hits, and the Giants 2 runs on 6 hits in this game. Maine works out of the stretch. A throw to first, runner back. That's the danger of not being able to at least squeak through with 1 run in the top half of this 6th inning. Because every time a man gets aboard, the tying run comes with the plate. And Maine has to work a little bit more under stress. He delivers a fastball very high, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Brian Stokes has just trotted down to the bullpen to start loosening up for the Mets. Remember, they're 1 short in that bullpen with J.J. Putz not available for a couple of days.
A bone spur in the elbow. A cortisone shot to try to keep that inflammation down. Here's a swing and a drive into deep center field. Going back, Beltran. He has room, and on the track makes the catch. Not all that far from the 404 mark. And going back to first base is Rowan, as he had nearly gotten to second base. So Ishikawa hits that during the day and might leave the yard. But here, with a very heavy air, it stopped on the warning track. So 2 outs. And that's going to do it for Justin Miller. And the veteran Juan Uribe will come up and pinch hit. And as he comes out, Dan Warthen is sent to the mound to give a little scouting report on Uribe. Uribe had been with Colorado, the Chicago White Sox. And a guy who, he's a wild swinger. I mean, there isn't just one way you can pitch to this guy. He can hurt you in a myriad of ways if you make a mistake. And Brandon Metters, a right-hander, warming up for San Francisco down the bullpen way in left field. Uribe is hitting .256. He is 1 for 5 as a pinch hitter. The pitch on the way, and it's in for a called strike 1. A good hard slider. Uribe is a career pinch hitter, is a .333 hitter. That's pretty good. 9 for 27. The pitch. And a fastball just outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 outs, runner at first. Mets leading 4-2 in the bottom of the 6th inning here in San Francisco. Maine from the belt. Delivers the pitch. Outside, ball 2, 2-1. Maine wanted to catch that outside corner. He's thrown 101 pitches. Top of the order, out on deck at Emmanuel Burris. Maine does not get Uribe. This is probably his last batter. The right-hander's pitch way outside, backhanded by Castro, and it's 3-1.
He's trying to get through the 6th inning. Each of his last 3 starts, he's gone 6, but no longer. In fact, no longer in any of his starts so far. And he appears to be at his threshold right here. And Stokes has been warming up long enough so that he should be ready to face the next hitter, Burris.
Maine with a count of 3-1 delivers. Swinging a chopper up the middle. Base hit on into center field. Beltran charging. Picks it up on the blades of grass and stopping at second base is Rowan. And Uribe continues his fine pinch hitting. He is now above that .333 mark. He's 10 for 28. That's a pretty good weapon on the bench. Stokes appears to be ready as Burris will come up to the plate. He has already singled and doubled and reached on an error against John Maine, and you wonder why they're taking their time against a guy who's had some success against him, at least tonight.
I'm surprised, and one of the things I think that's most noticeable about this scenario is that John Maine appeared surprised. Maine, the way he was walking around, looked like he was just waiting for Jerry to come out to get him.
So he has to face Burris, and here's the pitch, and a breaking ball is low and away. Ball 1, 1 ball and no strikes.
Again, I mentioned the Mets are 1 short of the bullpen tonight, but Maine looks like he's just about done. And I think Jerry Manuel's taking a bit of a chance here.
Runners at first and second. The pitch swung on and fouled out of play. Had enough on that fastball to produce a foul ball at 93 miles an hour. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You'd like to be able to go with Stokes and Feliciano and Parnell as some combination to get him through the 7th and 8th innings. So I'm sure that's why he wants to push Maine through this last hitter. But he looks like he's just about on the ropes here.
2 singles in the inning, 2 outs. Here's the pitch. Swinging a foul off to the left. Just slapped into the crowd. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Burris has a swing there that would be somewhat reminiscent of Jose Reyes on a pitch up and away that was tailing away and just kind of slapping at it, getting underneath that baseball.
You mentioned it, his stance is a little similar too, isn't it?
Yeah, he does, and he wears the same number. Number 7. Jose Reyes hopes to be in the lineup tomorrow. If not, he may beat Jerry Manuel to death with his words. The pitch, a half-swing foul ball up and over the screen. Jerry was kidding about that with Ed Coleman today on Mets Extra, saying, implying that I don't know if I could take 2 days of Jose Reyes chasing me down, begging to play.
It's the old Gary Carter syndrome. Whenever Davey Johnson wanted to give Gary a day off, kid almost talked him silly. Forced his way back in. And he didn't take many days off.
Yeah, he was a durable catcher and a good one. Hall of Famer. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Called strike 3. A fastball thrown to Burris by Maine. He had enough on the last one. Registered here on the radar gun at 94 miles an hour. So for the Giants, no runs, 2 hits, 2 left on. We head to the 7th. Still 4-2 Mets of the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 66.
It'll be his 15th appearance. He earned his 2nd win of the year on Tuesday night against the Nationals. He will bat at the number 1 spot as Emmanuel Burris is out of the game, and remaining in the game after pinch hitting is Juan Uribe, and he's playing second base. So a strong finish for John Maine. 6 innings. And now hoping for that offense to blow it wide open. Gary Sheffield takes the first pitch, and it's over for a called strike 1. Sheffield has answered the call tonight. An RBI single in the first inning, a double and a run scored in the 3rd, fly to left his last time up, just getting underneath it. 4-2 Mets. We're at the top of the 7th. The pitch. A breaking ball is low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tonight's game brought to you by Chrysler. At Chrysler, we're building a new car company. We're building great deals, too, with up to $4,000 cash allowance on the Chrysler you'll want to drive. Visit your local dealer today and come see what we're building for you. A swing and a miss on a breaking ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Sheffield. He'll be followed by David Wright and Fernando Tatis. The Mets have out-hit the Giants 9-7, leading 4-2. The windup in the pitch. And a little dribbler up to first base side. Fair ball played by the first baseman, Ishikawa, who thought about tagging out Sheffield, who slowed down his pace going to first base. And so the first baseman went back to the bag and stepped on it for the out. And that'll bring up David Wright. Maine probably out.
I would presume, with the number of pitches thrown in excess of 100. But you have to look at the thing that he did tonight that was very impressive, and that is he collected 4 strikeouts, and all 4 of them ended the inning. So he had a little in reserve. Here's a fastball strike to David Wright. He has singled twice, has 2 stolen bases, an RBI, and has walked. So he's been on base every time tonight. Batter's ready and delivers, and it's low and away. Count even up, 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, John Maine just finding a way after a very difficult and looked to be perilous first inning. The 1-1. That one goes to the backstop. 2 balls and a strike. Howie, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know if he was going to be able to survive that first inning. Everything that he did was wrong. The 2 wild pitches. Couldn't hold against the runners. They stole 2 bases. He walked a total of 2 in that first inning. And somehow only gave up 2 runs and surrendered the lead, which he had 1-0. The pitch is low and outside. Breaking ball, 3-1.
No, one thing that he and Mike Pelfrey have learned to do over the last year or so is find their way with less than their best. He could have imploded early, but he wound up getting through 6 innings. And that's an achievement.
3-1 pitch is high, ball 4, and David Wright's aboard for the 4th consecutive time. Fernando Tatis will be the hitter. And Tatis has been the quiet one tonight. Well, usually he's in the middle of it. He's had a good run over the last week to 10 days. But so far in this game, he came up with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 2 outs in the first inning. The Mets had scored a run. He flied out to end it. He came up with a runner at 2nd base with 2 outs in the 3rd, ended that inning. Came up with a runner at 1st base with 2 outs in the 5th and hit one back to the mound. So he's 0 for 3. Throw to 1st and a runner back. David Wright certainly a threat to take off. What I presume would be really nice for David Wright is the fact that he wasn't thrown out attempting to steal. One of the craziest things we've seen all year is the fact that he's been thrown out so many times. There he goes. The pitch is swung on, hit high in the air to right field. Wright doesn't know where it is. He has to retouch 2nd base. The catch made in right, and he slides back in as the throw gets away from the first baseman Ishikawa, as Randy Wynn had a chance for what should have been a 3 double play, as David Wright went past the bag at 2nd and the right touch it. And Randy Wynn, he didn't see where David Wright was, and so he reacted rather slowly and made a terrible throw to 1st.
Well, at least David knew the rule. There have been others along the way who have not. I remember Jay Payton, for one, who once rounded 2nd base in a similar situation, had to get back to 1st, went in front of the 2nd base bag on his way back.
Oh, my.
That's something, major leaguers.
Ramon Castro, the hitter. Wright not going this time. It was too much effort last time. And he takes the pitch for a strike, does Ramon Castro, as Wright says, over there at 1st base. He had to sprint trying to steal the bag, had to sprint back to make sure he wasn't doubled off. 4-2 Mets, top of the 7th inning, 2 outs. Castro a walk and a run scored. 0 for 2 officially. Long stretch. There goes Wright again. A swing and a miss on a breaking ball. Wright slides in head first. He's got the steal as the 2nd baseman Uribe came over and took that late throw from Benji Molina, and a 3 stolen base night. The top category for David Wright tonight indeed. David Wright with that steal. We had mentioned some of the problems that he had. He'd been caught 6 times, and that ties his career best with 3 steals in 1 game.
Yeah, 3rd time he's done it.
And the way he's going tonight, it won't be his last. The 0-2 pitch to Castro. A breaking ball in the dirt. Another pitch, not a bad one to take off on. And, of course, there's no reason for him to try to steal 3rd now, simply because he's already in scoring position and there are 2 outs. But that's an important run for Castro to pick up if indeed he can. Mets haven't scored since the 4th inning. The Giants haven't scored since the 1st. We're in the top of the 7th. 4-2 Mets. The Seagulls have made their way into AT&T Ballpark looking for some scraps left by Chris Majkowski.
Forget it.
The 1-2 pitch. Swinging a fly ball into right. Going back on it is Wynn. He's got to play. Makes the catch, and the inning comes to an end. The 7th inning with the Mets on top 4-2. It'll be Edgar Renteria, Pablo Sandoval, and then Benji Molina. And John Maine, despite the fact he's thrown 108 pitches, is going to come out for the 7th. That's a good sign. Well, he finished strong with that strikeout of Burris ending the 6th inning. Renteria's 0 for 3, and he takes the first pitch over for a strike. This is a big lift, I think, to the Mets. Simply the fact that Maine is starting the 7th inning. Stokes and Feliciano are warming up in the bullpen, it should be noted, at the start of the inning. 4-2. Mets leading. Here's the pitch to Renteria, and it's outside for a ball, a breaking pitch.
It's really going to be interesting to hear what Johnny says after this game, because he looked like he was waiting for Jerry Manuel to come get him with 2 out in the 6th.
Maybe that's why Jerry didn't go get him. The pitch is fouled away, and it's 1-2. I mean, I don't mean that in a coy way, but that's what Jerry does. He looks for players in a certain way, and if he needs to build a little toughness, he will do it. And it's a cool night. It's not one of these hot summer nights in St. Louis. This is a cool night, good for a pitcher. Here's swinging a pop-up on the right side. Not a whole lot of foul territory. Tatis over. He's got to play. And he makes the catch as he's along the railing just beyond the first base dugout. Now, he did the right thing. He went over to the railing. Then he looked up and saw that he had plenty of room, but he kind of drifted. I don't think he was quite certain about his footing near that railing. I think he thought he was a little closer. Very awkward at the end. Not a whole lot of agility on the part of Tatis, but he does get the out. And Renteria, an 0 for 4 night. And the hitter is Pablo Sandoval. Well, Sandoval reminds me a lot of, and forgive me for this, Prince Fielder. The pitch fouled out of play off to the left. I mean, he's not real big. He's 5'11", but he weighs about 246 pounds. Well, not about. He weighs exactly that. Now, I didn't weigh him, but that's what the Giants tell us. He's left-handed. Well, he's a switch hitter, but he's a left-handed batter. Here, he reminds me of Fielder. Swinging a pop-up. Middle of the diamond behind the mound. Called for on the grass by David Wright. He makes the catch, and there are 2 outs. Well, there's plenty left in that fastball of John Maine. When you get a pop-up like that, that means you still got enough velocity.
And that means I was absolutely wrong, because I thought at the end of that 6th inning that he just about had it.
He looked like it. That's the only judgment you can make based on past history, and that's most recent starts. He hadn't gone into the 7th inning and completed it. Well, he's got a chance to now, but Benji Molina has been a tough customer for him. He's 2 out of 3 with an RBI, single, and another single, and the pitch bounces away from Castro to the backstop, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. Would you agree, Howie? Is this the smallest backstop you've ever seen in Major League history?
Well,
I can't think of a smaller one.
Citi Field is not a whole lot farther back, but you're right. I think this is even closer than Citi Field is.
Here's the 1-0 pitch, and a fastball up and in, and maybe that's the answer to David Wright a little earlier.
Good
when
point.
He had to take one up under the chin.
And I love that Jerry's doing this, frankly. I mean, I'm all for forcing pitchers and pushing them as hard as you possibly can, meaning starters.
And you do it to the best hitter on the opposition, and Molina is that. A pitch squirts past Castro, a fastball to the backstop again. And it's 3-0. Well, it's one thing to throw inside as a purpose pitch and just a message. And John Maine, if there's anybody on this team that's going to protect David Wright, it's the fellow Virginia. And he did an excellent job, but now he's got to get back on the beam. He's fallen behind 3-0. Remember, it's only a 4-2 game. And the pitch. Blown away, ball 4. He walks Molina for 2 outs. Now that may do it. Here comes Jerry Manuel, and that will do it.
This call to the bullpen brought to you by digital phone from Time Warner Cable. Call 800-OK-CABLE.
Want more phone for less money?
And he went at the plate. Brian Stokes trying to finish off the inning for John Maine. The first pitch cracked on the ground foul. First base side skips up into the seats, a souvenir, and is 0-1. Wynn, a sacrifice fly in the first inning, grounded out in the third, hit into a double play back at inning number 5. A guy who has hit 300 the last couple of years, off to a slow start this season. But Bruce Bochy goes by the track record and has stayed with it. Great patience. The 0-1 pitch. Ground ball to the first baseman. It's picked up by the stumbling Tatis, but got to his feet, ran to the bag, steps on it, and Stokes gets the job done to get the last out of the 7th inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, a walk, and a man left on. We head to the 8th in San Francisco. 4-2 Mets on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 60.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts or descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets. As we go to the 8th inning, Howie, one thing with the Mets leading 4-2, one thing that's worth noting is that Maine, this may be a big game for him to get over the hump, especially after he threw 30 first-inning pitches.
118 is how far he lasted, which is significant. Now the Mets try to extend the lead as Ryan Church takes a fastball high. 1 ball and no strikes. Church, 1 out of 3. He's actually hit in 5 straight games now as Ryan Church. Daniel Murphy on deck to bat for Stokes, and then Luis Castillo. Metters 1-0. Fastball outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Loosening up now as his responsibilities continue to grow. Tonight, in the absence of Putz, Parnell, the 8th inning man. Down to 2-0 on the way, and a fastball down the middle for a call, strike 1 to Ryan Church. I give Brian Stokes credit. It took him only 2 pitches to get that final out of the front. Now the 2-1 pitch had a curveball inside. 3-1. Missed by much. As you can probably discern from the crowd reaction. But what's significant about Stokes only lasting 2 pitches is that they'll probably need him again tomorrow. 3-1 pitch, fastball chopped towards the mound. Off to get it to the right of the mound. Metters runs towards first before he underhands to Ishikawa for the first out. So 1-3 to retire Church. And it'll bring up Daniel Murphy. Well, Murphy has been struggling lately with a bat. He got into yesterday's game in the 7th inning as a pinch hitter and hit a soft line drive to shortstop. So he is now just 2 for his last 22. And the first pitch, a fastball on the outside corner for a called strike 1. Murphy's average on the year has now dropped down to 275. For a call strike, the slider from Metters. No balls and 2 strikes. Center fielder Rowan plays a step the other way. The 0-2 pitch, fastball in there, strike 3 called. Well, you don't see that very often from Daniel Murphy, which tells you he's a little confused right now.
He was guessing.
I mean, that's a fastball basically right down the middle of the plate after he'd seen 1 breaking ball.
He was definitely looking for another breaking ball.
Oh,
you don't see that happen. You're right.
Murphy now 2 for his last 23, and Luis Castillo comes up. Castillo 0 for 3 with a walk, hitting leadoff tonight in the absence of Reyes. First pitch as he bats left-handed, and that's the fastball taken high, 1 ball and no strikes. First time that Luis has batted from the left side in this game. As Jonathan Sanchez, the lefty, started for the Giants, and he's on the hook. It's 4-2 New York. 2 out, nobody on. 1-0 pitch. Shows bunt and does bunt, but it's foul off to the third base side. 1-1. The out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Major World, home of over 2,000 cars to choose from. 1% is all you pay to drive it away. Milwaukee beat Florida 5-3. Dodgers over the Phillies in 10 innings. Same score, 5-3. Chicago clobbered San Diego 11-3. Houston beat Colorado 5-3, which is certainly the score du jour. And St. Louis over Pittsburgh 5-1. Here's the 1-1 to Castillo, and a breaking ball in for a called strike 2. In that game in Pittsburgh, Pirates managed 1 run on 12 hits. In the American League, Yankees beat Toronto 3-2. Minnesota over Detroit 6-5. Twins got 6 in the bottom of the 7th. They were trailing 5-0. 1-2 to Castillo, hit in the air, center field, moving in Aaron Rowan. He makes the catch, and that retires the side. The Mets go in order. In the 8th inning, it's the Mets 4, the Giants 2 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network. Mets baseball is brought to you by RE/MAX of New York. Is your real estate agent always showing you the listings they want you to see? Visit RE/MAX.com now and see all the listings in New York State. Nobody in the world sells more real estate than RE/MAX. 4-2 Mets. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and Bobby Parnell, a right-hander, comes on to do the pitching for New York, as he will face Fred Lewis, Aaron Rowan, and Travis Ishikawa. First pitch to Lewis, a left-hand batter. A fastball high, 1-0. For Parnell, his 18th appearance, 1-0 with a 1.17 earned run average. Gave up a run yesterday. The 1-0 is high. 2 balls and no strikes. Another fastball. Parnell really should have pitched a scoreless inning, that being the 7th. But an error by David Wright changed that. 2-0 pitch. Fastball on the inside corner. Strike 1 call. Lewis has walked, fly to left, grounded to short. He's stolen a base as well. That's about hit the Giants 9-7 and lead 4-2 as Wright's in tight at third. 2-1 pitch. Fastball down the middle of called. Strike 2. So Parnell continues to fire mid-90s darts. That one at 94 miles an hour. Right-hander Bobby Howery is loosening up now, or just starting to, in the Giants bullpen as they work down towards the bottom of the order. 2-2 pitch and a fastball lifted foul into the seats at 95 into the second deck behind third base. Some other American League scores. Texas defeated Seattle 3-2. The Angels in 12 innings beat the Red Sox 5-4. Cleveland over Tampa Bay 11-7. Here's the 2-2 to Lewis. Fastball chopped slowly right side. Past Parnell, charging Castillo. Tried to flip it with his glove. Can't do it. It rolls to Tatis. And on at first with an infield hit is Fred Lewis. He's got great speed. Realistically, once that ball got past the mound and got past Bobby Parnell, there was virtually no chance for Castillo. Just tried to make a desperation shovel with his small glove. You can do it with that glove a lot easier than you can that big first baseman's glove, as we saw recently.
Absolutely. And, you know, looking at that, that's the 3rd infield hit for the Giants. So they have not been dominating, but they keep getting traffic on the bases.
So here's Aaron Rowan, who is 1 for 2 with a walk. Parnell from the belt throws to first, and Lewis is back standing. One other American League game. Baltimore beat Kansas City 9-5, and that gets you caught up on all the out-of-town scores. Not everybody playing on this Thursday night. The Mets and the Giants are. It's 4-2 New York. Lewis being held on by Tatis. The outfield straight away. And Parnell's first pitch. Low outside. A fastball 1-0. Working from practically a complete slide step there. Very little leg kick. And Parnell missed down and away. His fastball before that was 95. That one was 92. And that slide step will do that to you. It'll take a little bit off. Remember, the Mets have a 2-run lead here. Parnell again slide steps on the 1-0. A fastball high, 2-0. That was at 93. But again, you understand wanting to keep a very close runner, Freddie Lewis, at first base. Rowan is the guy you got to really worry about. He's the tying run at the plate. Of course, it's the 8th inning, not the 9th, so the Giants certainly value the run. You can't say that Lewis's run means nothing, but it's the hitter who can tie the game here. Parnell behind 2-0. Now the pitch, and a fastball low, ball 3. So Parnell blowing on his hand, getting into a little trouble now. 3-0 to Aaron Rowan. Travis Ishikawa, the first baseman, is on deck. It's a Giants team that doesn't have a whole lot of power. Fewest home runs in the majors, but Rowan, who has 2 this year, has hit 20 a couple of times in his big league career. He can get into one. Now the 3-0 pitch. And a fastball outside, ball 4. And Parnell after allowing an infield single. Walks Rowan. And now we'll see if Ishikawa is up there to bunt, because you know they're going to hit. Well, they don't have to hit for the pitcher. You got Uribe in the 9-hole and then the pitcher, Brandon Metter. So they'll hit for the pitcher eventually in this inning. And so Ishikawa's taking a long look down at third base coach Tim Flannery. And now Dan Warthen, the pitching coach, is going to head out to the mound. Pedro Feliciano, left-hander, runs out to the bullpen to try to get ready as quickly as possible for the Mets.
And remember, he had thrown in that last inning, and so it shouldn't take him too long to get loose, although it is a bit chilly here in San Francisco.
Well, you'd have to think, with the Giants being the home team, it's the 8th inning, they're down 2, that Ishikawa is going to be called on to bunt by Bruce Bochy, but we'll see. The entire infield came together on the mound when Dan Warthen was out there, discussing how they'll handle the alignment. So the crowd, implored by the scoreboard, begins to make some noise. Paid crowd tonight of 30,154, 30154. But certainly fewer than that even at the crowd's peak tonight. So here's Ishikawa. Cornell looks to second now, the pitch, and he takes a breaking ball. Called strike, 0-1. He showed no inclination to bunt. So 0-1 to the Giants' first baseman, who has struck out, flied to right, and flied to center. Recently, Ishikawa fought through an 0-for-17 slump. 0-1 to the left-hand batter. Cornell looks to second. Now he squares, and he bunts back towards the mound. Cornell has it. His play will be to first. He throws low, but it's grabbed by Tatis, the first baseman, as the runners move up. So it's a 1-3 sacrifice as Lewis goes to third and Rowan goes to second, representing the tying run. And now Juan Uribe coming up.
Now, I thought he had a play at third base if he had reacted, but he had his back to the third base bag. And you're right about that throw to first base, Howie. That almost was sent down the line.
Castro, the catcher, was taking charge, telling him to go to first. So here's Uribe, right-hand batter. Cornell delivers. Fastball high, 1-0, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, brought to you by Time Warner Cable's Roadrunner high-speed online, the fastest way around the internet. The Giants have the tying run at second. Runners at second and third, 1 out, the infield back, the outfield deep. The 1-0 pitch, and a fastball line foul down the right field line into the seats. And the count 1-1 to Uribe, who's up for the second time in this game after he singled as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning and then stayed in as part of a double switch. And Brandon Metters came on to do the pitching for the Giants. Now it's 1-1. Cornell sets. Here's the pitch, and a fastball low, ball 2. The pitcher's spot is due up next, and a tough hitter in spots like this, the veteran Rich Aurelia, is on deck to pinch hit for Brandon Metters. 2-1 to Uribe. Here's the pitch, and a fastball lined into left field, a base hit. In to score is Lewis. Turning third and being held there is Rowan. The throw comes in on one hop to Castro, and on at first with an RBI single is Juan Uribe, and the Met lead is cut to 4-3. And that was hit very hard by Uribe for his second hit. And I would imagine that Jerry's going to stay with the right-hander Cornell against Rich Aurelia now, a right-handed hitter.
Poor base running by Juan Uribe. He should have been going to second base. That throw was too high from the left fielder Sheffield to the cutoff man David Wright, who made a leap and couldn't come down with it. Very surprising.
But here is Aurelia now to pinch hit. Rich Aurelia, back for his second time around as a Giant, has only had 45 at-bats with 7 hits. It's a 156 average. But don't let that mislead you. Over the years, he has gotten some big hits, certainly that I can recall in games against the Mets. By not getting down to second, the double play remains in order on a ground ball. Rowan is at third. Uribe at first. 1 out. 4-3 New York in the 8th. Cornell sets. Now the pitch. And a breaking ball low. 1 ball and no strikes. He started him off with a slider. Rich Aurelia, New York area kid. Been around for a long time in the major leagues.
0 for his last 15.
Aurelia first came to the Giants in 1995. This is his 3rd year back with them. Now the 1-0. And a fastball in for a called strike. He didn't think so, but Aurelia will have to deal with it. It's 1-1. Graduated from Xaverian High School in Brooklyn and then went to St. John's. Mets 4, Giants 3. Rowan to third, Uribe at first. The infield set back looking for 2. Parnell sets. Takes his time. Now the 1-1. And it's fouled back upstairs behind home plate. And so Parnell ahead here, a ball and 2 strikes with Edgar Renteria. Another tough out in clutch spots on deck. Hits are even at 9. Tatis holding the bag at first against Uribe. And now Parnell blows on his pitching hand at the back of the mound. Probably about 7 or 8 degrees cooler now than it was when the game started. That's standard operating procedure here. Parnell ready. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Threw him a breaking ball and strikes out Aurelia for the 2nd out. Big strikeout for Parnell, but he's not out of it yet. Edgar Renteria, a right-hand batter coming up. Mets have Sean Green, a right-hander, and Pedro Feliciano, a left-hander, throwing in the bullpen.
Little moxie on the part of Bobby Parnell. How many times have we seen him strike out anybody with a slider? Very few.
Well, he's got Renteria now, who is 0 for 4. Up to second, fly to left, struck out looking, fouled out to first. The outfield is deep. Right-hand hitter, right-hand pitcher. Parnell deals. Fastball low. Stopped by Castro. And the count 1 ball and no strikes. It was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball in the dirt. Castro had to lean to his right to manage to control that. Something he did not do on some breaking balls from John Maine in the first inning, which cost Maine 2 wild pitches. So 1-0 to Renteria. Parnell to the belt. Now the 1-0 pitch. Hit on the ground up the middle to his left. Cora fields it from the edge of the grass. Throws too late to first. The tying run scores. Rowan comes in from third. Uribe stops at second. On at first with an infield single is Edgar Renteria. And the Giants have tied it 4-4. Cora's throw not only was late, it came in on 2 or 3 hops. And Renteria might have pulled a muscle as he reached for the back of his leg as he ran through first base about 30 feet down the line into short right field. And he's talking things over now with first base coach Roberto Kelly, but the Giants have tied it on an infield hit by Renteria, and now the trainer is going to come out to have a look at Edgar Renteria, and while he does, we'll pause for station identification on the WFAN Mets radio network.
The Rockets beat the Lakers. The Magic topped the Celtics to force Game 7s. Carolina and Detroit into the NHL Conference Finals. More later on WFAN and WXRK HD3, New York.
Howie Rose and Wade Hagan here in San Francisco. The Giants have tied the game 4-4, and Edgar Renteria is walking off the field with the Giants trainer here. Bruce Bochy has not sent a runner to first base yet. But Renteria walking slowly now back into the dugout. Well, it looks like Eugenio Velez is going to first base to run for Renteria. Takes over at first, but now the go-ahead run is in scoring position. And that is on Uribe at second base. Bobby Parnell not able to hold a 2-run lead here in the bottom of the inning against a light-hitting and low-scoring Giants team. So now Pablo Sandoval, 1 for 4, switch hitter batting left. Takes the first pitch, a fastball low, 1 ball and no strikes. I don't know whether or not Renteria had a cramp or might have tweaked a hamstring. But he's out of the game. And now the 1-0 pitch. And it's low outside. Ball 2, 2-0. The on-deck hitter is Benji Molina. Sandoval singled in the first inning and scored. Fly to right, fly to center, popped to third. The score tied at 4. Parnell sets. Now the 2-0 pitch. Fastball hit on the ground, grabbed by Wright at third. He straightens, throws to first in time, side retired. That ball was hit towards the hole. Wright was playing wide of the bag against the left-hand hitter. And the side retired. So the Giants tie it with 2 runs on 3 hits. No errors and 2 men left at the end of 8. Mets 4, Giants 4 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN New York.
Well, we go to the 9th inning in San Francisco. The Mets and the Giants are now tied 4-4. Brian Wilson, the closer of the Giants, comes on to start the 9th inning. And Eugenio Velez, who ran for the injured Edgar Renteria, stays in the game at second base. Juan Uribe, who had been at second, slides over to short. And Alex Cora, the Mets shortstop, leads off the 9th inning. The righty Wilson deals in a fastball down the middle for a called strike 1. For Wilson, his 17th appearance, he has 8 saves and a 2-0 record with a 3.18 earned run average. Cora, Beltran, Sheffield due up for the Mets here in the 9th inning. Now Wilson sets the 0-1. And a little chopper towards third, moving to his left. Sandoval, he's got it and throws out Cora, 1 man away. And then Carlos Beltran will bat. Beltran has struck out, singled, and scored. Struck out again and grounded to second. So disappointing for Bobby Parnell, who has been moved up the ladder in the chain of command in terms of importance in late inning situations out of the bullpen. With J.J. Putz not available tonight, Parnell got the 8th with a 2-run lead, couldn't hold it. So here's Beltran. And the first pitch, a fastball in for a called strike, 0-1. That's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball thrown by Brian Wilson. Right-hander Sean Green throwing for the Mets, along with Frankie Rodriguez. Here's the 0-1. And a changeup hit in the air to left center field. Pretty deep. Rowan going back. Reaches out. Can't get it. It goes to the wall. Karam's back to Rowan, who fires into the cutoff man. And Beltran takes a big turn at second and holds on there with a 1-out double. He spanked that pitch the other way. Now the Mets have the go-ahead run in scoring position with 1 out.
Tell you what, that was a great play by Rowan in the fact that it was slicing away from him, went over his head, he reached for it, couldn't get there. And as that ball carried back, had he not been able to come up very quickly with a reaction of grabbing that ball on that carom, that goes back over his head, and now he has to retrace his steps back to center field, and who knows where Beltran might be. That could have been an inside-the-park home run.
Well, Beltran's at second, and now Gary Sheffield is 2 for 4. And Wilson delivers a fastball low outside, 1-0. David Wright, another right-hand batter, is on deck. And the Mets now, in this 4-4 game, have even the hits at 10. Wilson sets at the shoulders, the 1-0. Fastball outside, ball 2. That last fastball clocked at 99 miles per hour. So the Mets have Green throwing if the game stays tied. Frankie Rodriguez throwing in case the Mets take the lead. And that's what Sheffield's trying to give them here. Wilson with a 2-0 and a fastball at the knees for a called strike. 2-1. The second baseman, Velez, has been trying to keep Beltran as close to the bag as possible. Carlos stole third with one out earlier in the week. Now it's 2-1 to Sheffield. Waving that bat around. Beltran running. The pitch taken inside. Molina's throw to third. Safe at third. Beltran steals third again. And that go-ahead run is now 90 feet away with a count 3-1 to Sheffield and one out.
And it appeared to come on a breaky ball. Remember, that's what he did the other day. He could see what the pitcher was going to throw, and it was low and in. Molina did a nice job of recovering that ball in behind the hitter. But a nice slide on the part of Beltran, who just got his foot in.
So now the infield moves in. 3-1 to Sheffield. Here's the pitch. Outside and high, ball four, a fastball, and Wilson really stayed away from Sheffield most of that at bat. Molina thought he might have had Beltran at third. Looking at a replay, Sandoval trying a sweep tag just a little late on the slide. Really no argument with the call once you look at a replay, as we did, of course, and Bruce Bochy will later on. And so now the double play back in order on a ground ball after the walk to Sheffield. And here is David Wright, who's been on base all four times. These are the situations this year in particular where David just seems to press. A fly ball can get this go-ahead run home. Wilson sets the first pitch. Inside and low near his feet with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, 1-0. It's funny, the numbers will tell you otherwise. The numbers say that David Wright is hitting .304 with men in scoring position. But then you look a little closer. In two-out spots, he's hitting just .200. Now, right here, there's only one man out. Here's the pitch, and a fastball nicks the inside corner at the knees. A called strike one. Mets and Giants tied at 4 with one out here at the top of the ninth inning.
Well, we told you early that the Mets would be running at will tonight. They have 5 stolen bases.
David Wright has 3 of them. Right here, he's looking for a way to get that go-ahead run. Beltran in from third. Sheffield leads from first. Wilson sets. Here's the 1-1 pitch. And a fastball inside and low. 2-1. Fernando Tatis, another right-hand hitter, is on deck. Wilson got the first batter, Alex Cora, then gave up a double the other way to Beltran. Now runners first and third with one out. The outfield straight away and fairly deep. Here's the 2-1 pitch. And a fastball line to right field coming on Wynn. It falls in front of him for a base hit. Beltran scores. The throw comes into second. Sheffield gets there ahead of the throw. And on at first with an RBI single. His third hit of the game is David Wright. And the Mets have a 5-4 lead. Wright comes through with a big hit of the ninth inning. As that pitch was up and out over the plate. And it was hit so hard that Randy Wynn thought he might have had a chance to force Sheffield at second. But the throw got there too late. Now runners at first and second. And one man out. And Fernando Tatis the batter. And now the Mets look for more. And you know it's K-Rod who's going to come on to pitch the ninth. Tatis in the game 0 for 4. So Wright has been on base all 5 times tonight. 3 hits and a couple of walks. 3 stolen bases. 2 runs batted in. But now Wilson set to face Tatis. The runners go. The pitch taken for a called strike. Throw to third is high. And safe at third is Sheffield. Down to second goes Wright. And Wayne, you talked about it from the very first inning, but the Mets are running roughshod over the Giants in this game.
7 stolen bases in this game for the Mets. 7 stolen bases. That's a lot of stolen bases, man.
Well, now, of course, it takes the double playoff. Unless the Mets or the Giants were to walk Tatis here, but they bring the infield in. And they're going to pitch to him. You can certainly make a case for walking him with Castro on deck. But the infield stays up. And the 0-1 pitch is fouled back to the screen. A fastball, 0-2. Well, with that infield in, Tatis has a variety of ways to find his way through the middle of the infield here and open the game up a bit for the Mets. 7 stolen bases tonight, a new club record. Sheffield is at third. Wright is at second. All 4 infielders are up. The outfield straight away. And Wilson comes set. The 0-2 to Tatis. Little ground ball to second, fielded by Velez. Looks the runners back and throws to first in time. 2 men away. Well, Tatis hit it right at the second baseman, Eugenio Velez. With that infield up, there was no chance for Sheffield to come in from third, not running on contact with the infield in. Had he been running on contact, he'd have been out by 20 feet. So in that sense, a break for the Mets. But now the infield drops back, and Ramon Castro will hit with 2 men out. Castro 0 for 3 with a walk. First pitch, fastball inside. Molina had to reach in for it, and the count 1-0. Inside and low from Brian Wilson. Ryan Church, a left-hand batter, waiting on deck. Bobby Howry, a righty, throwing in the Giants bullpen. Here's the 1-0 to Castro. And a fastball lined to right field, base hit. In comes Sheffield. Here comes Wright around third. Wins throw to the plate, up the third base line. The slide, safe at the plate. Wright with a head-first slide, got around the tag from Molina, and on at first with a 2-run single is Ramon Castro, and the Mets have a 7-4 lead. So after they gave up a 2-run lead in the bottom of the 8th, the Mets have come through with 3 here in the top of the 9th.
Better late than never, but you know what? This also sets up the potential somewhere in this 4-game series where they will see Brian Wilson again. And they have touched him up for 3 runs. This is the closer for the Giants.
So Ryan Church, the batter, and the first pitch is taken off the outside corner. A fastball 1-0. That throw was up the third base line, so Wright had to come around Molina and was able to do it with a hands first slide, getting that arm in well before Molina could get a tag down. The 1-0 to Church, swung on and missed a fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Church, the 7th man to bat here in the 9th inning. Biggest inning for either team tonight. 3 runs for New York. Jeremy Wall is putting on a duck to hit for Bobby Brownell. There's the 1-1 to Church. And a changeup hit on the ground to short, right to Uribe, who goes to second to Velez for the force play on Castro. And that retires the side, but not before the Mets scored 3 runs on 3 hits. No errors, and 1 man left. Middle of the 9th inning in San Francisco. It's the Mets 7, the Giants 4 on the WFAN Mets Radio Network. And a changeup. They want to check the swing. He did not go around. And the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. So David Wright, having stolen 4 bases among the Mets 7, he has tied the Mets' third record for steals in a game. Roger Cedeno, ironically on this date 10 years ago, and Vince Coleman. Here's the 1-1 to Molina, right down the left field line. That's a base hit. Rolling towards the corner. Reed waits on the counter. Molina turns second, and he stands there with a double. Off the right knee earlier in this game, and he's slow to begin with. So you put those 2 events together. And he can't run a lick right now, but he's at second with a lead off.
I wonder if there will be a carryover effect for him tomorrow night. There'll be a lot of treatment in between now and then.
Randy Wynn will be the batter now. I mentioned 7 stolen bases by the Mets in this game. They had stolen 6 in a game 4 times. Most recently in September of '07 against the Phillies. David Wright with 4 stolen bases, the Mets with 7, and none of it matters unless they can hold on here, leading 7-4. Randy Wynn, the batter. Nobody out, runner at second. Switch hitter batting left. First pitch, fastball swung on and foul tip into the mid of Castro. And the count, no balls and 1 strike. 94-mile-an-hour fastball there from Francisco Rodriguez. Remember, the Mets are doing this significantly shorthanded tonight. No Delgado, no Jose Reyes, who hopes to be back tomorrow, no J.J. Putz, who needs a couple of days. Now the 0-1 pitch, and a changeup in for a call at strike 2. Beautiful pitch by K-Rod at the knees.
Sometimes you
look at a team and you always say it takes more than 25 players. Sometimes it takes less than 25 players to win.
Lead 7-4. Nobody out. Bottom of the ninth. Molina leading from second. No guarantee he could score on a base hit. First, with the 0-2 pitch. Breaking ball in there. Strike three call. So K-Rod with a slider strikes out Randy Wynn for his first strikeout. One man away, or for his first out, and Freddie Lewis is coming up. Lewis 1 for 3 with a walk, a stolen base, and a run scored. David Wright with 4 stolen bases. Carl Crawford of the Tampa Bay Rays stole 6 in a game a couple of weeks ago. So here's Lewis. And K-Rod delivers. And it's down the middle for and 1 strike.
So what happened to David Wright? The guy had been caught 6 times.
All of a sudden, he's got a little extra gas in that pedal pushing down, and he is really having one of the great games of his career.
Now the 0-1 pitch. And a fastball fouled over the screen to the left of home plate, 0-2.
I mean, if getting on base has been tough for him and driving in clutch runs tough for him, well, he's been on base 5 times tonight and has driven in 2 big runs for the Mets. Most importantly, the last one, they gave them the lead. They hope never to relinquish.
Rodriguez ahead of Lewis, 0-2. Checks Molina at second, and the 0-2 pitch, a changeup grounded to first near the bag. Tatis has it, steps on the base, and that's the second out as Molina goes to third. But now the Giants down to their last out, and the Mets trying to do something that they have not done with any sort of regularity over the last couple of years, and that is show resilience late in games and come back. Now, they didn't give the lead away to the point where they fell behind as the Giants scored 2 in the 8th to tie, but the Mets came right back with 3, and they haven't often done that. So here's Aaron Rowan, right-hand batter. First pitch, fastball popped up near first base, should end the game, and foul ground. Tatis under it, and it connects. The Mets take the opener of this 4-game series and this 10-game road trip. 3 runs in the 9th inning to break a 4-4 tie. For the Giants, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. The final score, the New York Mets 7 and the San Francisco Giants 4. Back to talk about it in a moment on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Started what is going to be a 10-game road trip in 11 days through tough places, where San Francisco has played very well at home. They were 12-5 here at AT&T Ballpark, then on to Los Angeles and Boston. But tonight they prevailed due to the Mets 7-4 over the Giants. Bobby Parnell had a very troublesome 8th inning where he gave up 2 runs for the Giants to tie it at 4-4. But Carlos Beltran, with 1 out in the 9th inning, hit a double, stole third, something he did the other day to lead the Mets. And he would score on a David Wright RBI single to right. And then Ramon Castro came up with a key 2-run single to make it 7-4. And it is by that margin the Mets would win tonight 7-4. But one of the great stories in this game was the fact that the Mets set a franchise record with 7 stolen bases. David Wright himself tied the club mark with 4 stolen bases in the game. And not to forget Francisco Rodriguez, who is now 10 for 10 in save situations, getting the save tonight. And the Mets improved to 19-15, and not to be lost in all of this, the Mets with a 2-game lead in the National League East over the second-place Philadelphia Phillies. Tomorrow night, Livan Hernandez against Tim Lincecum. That's Game 2 of the series as we go to the commercial break. The defensive